Hello, everybody. It's Monday night, and my wife is out of town, and and Merrick contacted me about doing a Paintisode talking about Mordheim, and I was like, well, yeah, let's do that because I'm just going to be sitting here painting for all the hours. So let's chat and paint and stuff. So yeah, and Tom is joining us as well because Tom, I feel like you might have an opinion about Mordheim every so often as well.
Yeah, occasionally.
You know. So let's start out with what you're working on during this particular paint episode at the start. What are you working on there, Merrick?
Well, I feel really bad about this
All right.
because I let Mordheim distract me from my one true love.
Which was your DC Lizardman?
Yes, which is,
Gotcha.
well, is Batman in general.
Sure.
So I've been working on some things for Mordheim for a while, like the past year. Me and my buddy just got back into it, and it's actually kind of crazy that I didn't notice that in that time a Batman miniature game came out.
That is correct.
And just yesterday I received what I ordered, which was pretty much everything.
Gotcha.
So right now I've got this guy I just base coated, which is Batman, of course. And then
Now, never heard of him. So for our
once
listeners, who's Batman? No, I'm just messing with you. Of course.
Yeah, don't make me go into it because that would take the entire 8 hour allotment that we have. But and then I've got the also this one from the actual Arkham Knight. He's standing on a wicked gargoyle there, which I took a mold of, and will be working on. That'll go into a project that I'm also working on currently, which is a board for Mordheim.
Nice.
Yeah, I've
Now,
spent the better part of today cutting out MDF board, which you can't see it right now, but my pants are literally covered in sawdust.
generally any sentence that starts with "my pants are literally covered in" does not end in a good place.
In this case, it does because it means that Mordheim, which is always awesome.
Sure. Now, Tom, you're have ideas of a battle board as well, right?
I do. I actually have cut MDF as well as a bunch of like 8 by 4 foot sheets of 1 and 2 inch like insulation foam that I have sitting in my project room.
Nice.
So I am past planning stages. I have cut materials. I just need to actually get to the point of like gluing things together.
Nice.
And I'm ready to compose my battle board as well.
Now, do you
Um,
think you will get to that before or after you paint the other like 5 armies you have unpainted? I'm just trying to
Um,
ballpark this.
I think it'll happen before because of the Mordheim push.
Gotcha. So what you're telling me is I can continue to make fun of you for not ever painting your armies.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Okay, good, good.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure that I was still
Yeah.
going to be okay with that.
The bright news there is that I should certainly have some functional warbands that will be fully painted to play with what I have at this point.
Sure. So maybe what we should do for the people who are watching this, even though this isn't has no real format, but maybe this would be useful, is to actually talk a little about what Mordheim is, because not everybody may know.
okay.
So,
It's the greatest game ever.
okay. So why don't you walk us through some of Mordheim? Take us through it. What is it?
Okay, Mordheim is a game that is based off of Warhammer Fantasy. It takes place in the city of Mordheim, duh. And basically, what's happened is a giant comet has struck the city of Mordheim when it was like in its sort of prime, where everybody was sort of locked into being good and sinful. And So this comet comes down and just straight up wrecks the place. And from that, this comet explodes. It spreads weird stone all over the place, and that basically starts a gold rush, and everybody just starts going to Mordheim to collect this weird stone, not realizing that, everything there is horrendously messed up, and there's, chaos and demons and...
I'm going to interject here real quick.
Go for it.
And I had mentioned this on the show on the Warhammer Weekly last week, but a lot of people don't realize it was actually the year 1999 in the Warhammer fantasy world. Also, ironically, about the time that this game actually hit the market in the real world. And so it's set in 1999. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that this actually dovetails rather spookily into what has just wrapped up in Warhammer Fantasy, which is the end times. Because a twin-tailed comet shows up on the horizon, like the one that heralded Sigmar's first coming, and then that was supposed to herald his return again. And so everyone believes that the end is coming, and it was fulfilling this prophecy that basically they looked at a bunch of these different factors, and they believed it was going to happen in the city of Mordheim, and so people gathered there and they frolicked and they did what people do when they think the end is coming, which is throw all caution to the wind. And so in the midst of that, the excesses of lusts and passions and all of those things flourished, and the comet was actually the twin-tailed comet was actually ended up being a death sentence, as it killed everyone that had gathered to see the end come.
Well, not everybody. Some people just mutated into horrible chaos monsters.
Oh, sure.
Yes, syphilis for everyone.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't all bad. Some people got out nicely. Yes, everything you know and love is dead, but bright side, tentacle arm. So, who's the real winner here?
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah, that's a good background. Yes, it was released in 1999. It was under the Specialist Games line of Warhammer, or of Games Workshop, I should say. That time, a very popular sort of thing that they did. There was all these sort of specialist games, kind of grew out of like the earlier games of like Necromunda and Blood Bowl. So both similar small projects related to their parent thing, be it 40K or fantasy, right? That basically it played in a smaller version than they're the full tabletop war game. But there were other specialist games around this time, some of which I don't know if they're remembered as fondly. Like, do you see anybody playing War Master, or anybody watching? Anybody in your area play War Master, the little 10 mil version? I would be interested if anybody still plays that. I don't.
I see full armies that on eBay all the time.
Sure, yeah. Occasionally I will see somebody sell a full War Master army, but I don't really ever see anybody playing it. So I don't know. Like, maybe they do, and maybe I'm just ignorant of it. But I'm curious. But anyway, yeah, Mordheim came out in 99, specialist game. It was small of a skirmish, 12 to 20 troops. You had a pretty small number of warbands in the initial book, mainly focusing on Empire stuff, right? So you had like four different human warbands if you count the witch hunters. You had the undead from Sylvania. You had the sort of chaos people, the cult of the possessed, the witch hunters, the sisters of Sigmar, and then the Skaven. Did I forget anybody in the original book?
No, I think that sounds about right. I mean, there were the
Dwarves?
The dwarves were in the original book.
No. They were in the annual.
Yeah, so then, right, the annual added the dwarven treasure hunters, the orcs and goblins, the boys. Shoot, what else was in that first one? There was a lot. Obviously, the town crier also happened.
Amazon's Kislev.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the other auxiliary ones that they actually made models for. And the Dark Elves were in Town Crier 13. I don't think they made it into any of the annuals.
Yeah, eventually this concept kind of expanded out. Like, there was this idea of like having these small groups raid this thing, expanded out. It went to like Lustria, and Albion and just all these places, right, where it was the same, just it was the same idea under the thinnest veil of whatever narrative was an excuse to bring in more people, right? Because all the armies wanted to get, everybody wanted their own personal army, obviously represented in there. And it was great and it was fun. I certainly loved it. So I have a lot of reasons why I loved it. But Merrick, why did you love it?
I loved it for the narrative, like just the fact that you got to, like, it was the same thing with Warhammer Fantasy, really. Getting to like make your own hero, equip him how you want. You got to name him. He gained experience and got better, and you could give him new skills. Like, for instance, I had like just a landslide game with my lizardmen against a dwarf treasure hunters. Like,
Yep.
I just got absolutely smoked. Like, they are just brutal. But what happened was we were doing the treasure hunt.
Weird Stone
scenario.
Hunt?
Yeah.
Yep.
And what happened was my totem warrior ended up getting cornered. So, or revered guardian. It's one of the newer lizardmen warbands that has like came out way after the fact. But so my revered guardian got cornered by a slayer and something else. I think it might have been just like a noble or something like that. So he got cornered, like literally cornered in between two buildings, and there was a ladder there. But do you think I could make my goddamn initiative test to get up that ladder?
Yes. Yeah.
So he got like straight up just murderized.
Yes.
And,
Lizardmen could famously not climb anything.
Yeah.
Well, skinks could, but the Saurus couldn't, certainly.
Yeah. So that was an epic fail, which I was really disappointed about. But he didn't die. He lived through that fight. Like, I rolled full recovery, and he was good to go. And on top of that, he leveled up. So when he did his level up, you're looking through your chart to see what skills you get, because that's what I rolled up for what he got, was a new skill. And the Revered Guardian is able to take combat, speed, and I think academic is the other one. I don't know why, but so I went with speed, and what ended up happening is I took the scale sheer surface, so it could never happen to him again. So he just moves his movement up sheer walls.
Yep.
It's like he's never getting cornered and killed like that again. So like there's things like that. Like, you can actually let the things that you actually have control over choosing reflect what happened in the game. So it drove the narrative further that he would, grow like gargoyle claws and be able to just, dig them into a building because he needed to survive.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So, and if the people watching, if you already know all this, I apologize. I just want to make sure everybody knows kind of Mordheim, and hey, just hopefully you're getting some figs painted. Yeah, so you mentioned, like, you built your warband. You had a collection of guys that were called heroes and a collection of guys that were called henchmen, right? And so one of the aspects of the game that is interesting is so this game is a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I actually, I'm friends on Facebook with the guy who created the game. He's a really cool dude. And I was talking about some of the elements I love about it, and one of the elements is this game is punishingly random, right? And this is something he emphasized in a recent article he wrote looking back on it. You mentioned, like, you can design your hero how you want. Well, I will actually say no, that's not true. Mordheim is incredibly limited with what you can do with your people out of the gate. Like, your heroes were putzes. They were like one wound dudes who were just slightly better than your normal troop, especially if you're in a human warband. Like, the vampire was probably the best in the original book. Not probably, he was the best hero in the original book, the best general. And even he was a joke compared to a normal vampire, right? Like, on the tabletop.
Yeah.
Now, he was a monster compared to anything, save for like the rat ogre in the base book. But you really didn't have much you could do with them. Nobody could get magic items. There was no, like, this was poor. And one of the things I love about the backstory of Mordheim is that it wasn't the best of the best going to be in Mordheim, right? Like, you didn't go to Mordheim because you were the greatest warrior of the land. You went to Mordheim because you were down on your luck and there was no other options. Right?
Yeah.
So these are like the cast-offs. The you know, if they're not the best of the best, they're probably the worst of the worst. That's more what it is. And you know, you could buy them like a sword and a shield because all you got automatically was a dagger.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Was the like you got to give them like if you had the gold crowns left over, you could give him a great weapon, but like chances are he was running around with just daggers.
Right.
At first. But yeah, like having the ability, like the randomness is in there for sure, because I mean even when it comes to like if your character does level up, there's still a chart there that you have to roll on to see what happens with the level up.
Right.
And then I can't remember if it's for the heroes. I think you have to roll again if you get like weapon skill or ballista skill, and then the henchmen are you get to pick. I can't remember.
Okay, so here's how it works. You have two separate level up charts. One for heroes, one for henchmen. Nothing is controlled unless in a few very rare occasions, usually weapon skill or ballistic skill, you can like you could pick between those two. For everything else, it was decided for you. Now you can choose skills, and skills chewed up way too much of the table. One of the problems with the game, one of the challenges at least, is it's just an incredibly fun game. There's a lot to unpack here and talk about, but one of the big challenges with the game is that there were right answers. Okay, so like even though it wasn't just an all you need is kill. So, sorry, my wife is texting me and won't stop.
That's why I left my phone in the house.
Yeah, I should have done that. Anyways, so, boy, now I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, your skills. So there were simply right answers, both with gear, with how you started, with what you selected for your skills. If you played the game sort of for any amount of time, there were simply correct choices and incorrect choices. For example, the most frightening thing in Mordheim was a naked man with a club and a dagger, because he represented nothing to lose. Find the cheapest troop you can get, he has his dagger, give him a club, buy as many of them as you can, and shove them forward. That's how you like that in the beginning. That is how you win the game. It takes a warband significantly better than you, if they have a smaller number, that can beat horde of naked dudes with clubs. That is the most frightening thing. You just see a mob of naked peasants running at you with clubs and daggers. Run the other way because you're going down. Just because the way the math worked was such that, like, you know, a roll of 6 to wound could critically hit and such, and that more or less would put anybody out of action or put them down. And then if you had a second person, like, the problem was it was very hard to put people out of action. So for people who, this was based on 6th edition Warhammer, more or less, ish. And if you remember that, obviously there was a 2-hit roll, there was a 2-wound roll, then you had this extra roll that you didn't have, because you could be at 0 wounds forever, right? You had this injury roll where you got 1 to 2 knockdown, 3 to 4 stunned, and 5 to 6 out of action. So 1 through 4 you could recover from if given enough time. But if you're in melee and the first person knocks you down or puts you stunned, the second person can more or less just basically immediately put you out of action. Right? So that gave such a huge advantage to having more dudes, right? And on top of that, it also had the thing that that strength was so important, right? Moving that wound number up was so valuable. So the skill Mighty Blow, the difference between troops that had access to that and those that didn't was night and day. Right, just being able to count as +1 strength, because suddenly all your junk troops are strength 4. all your strength 4 troops are strength 5 and just crushing normal people, right? The math that spilled out was so crazy.
Since everything's pretty much toughness 3, you're wounding on 2s once you hit that strength 5. So
right. Yep. And it used the old weapon rules. So the old charge, you just charge double your move. You couldn't measure. There was no pre-measuring, right? It was all guessing and then just declaring it. There were interesting things about like blocking things up. You could screen for people. You could block off shooting. Shooting was in general not very good in that game. Like, because unless you were elevated, you had to shoot the nearest target. And in general, it was hard to put people out of action with shooting. Because the way you really put people out of action was by swarming them, right? Just getting around them, like I said, just naked dudes with clubs, just hammering. But shooting, you couldn't auto people out of action. If they were stunned and you shot them and wounded them, you still had to roll again, right? Like, it's just a straight roll. They didn't go out automatically. It was only melee that did that. But yeah, I mean, obviously you touched on like the campaign element of it. And to me, for all the faults it has, it is one of the best games ever made, just design-wise. And that whole campaign thing was so good, right? So how did you play in a couple campaigns, or how deep into the game did you get? Let me ask the question like that. Like, what was how many warbands have you played? How high did you get them rated? That kind of thing.
I have, it's been so many. Okay, well,
that's a good answer.
The warband that I'm currently like finishing right now.
Yes.
I can't remember what the hell the rating is. The numbers, it's not very high because we're just starting like at the cusp of where it's supposed to go. But so far, the 4 games that I've had with them have been by far my favorite. When we used to play before, it was pretty much just you start out with a new warband every game because somebody fucking important died.
Sure.
So it was kind of like, yeah, those guys are screwed. They're out. Your leader would die, and then there was no going back after that. And of course, it was when we were younger and we're thinking about, the actual tactics of the game. It was just like, this is going to be awesome, so I'm going to take this. And then, your guy that you put your heart and soul into would just get murdered.
Right.
Wouldn't come back, or got an injury that would cripple him to the point of him being useless. And yeah,
let's deep dive on that for a minute, because that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So yes, you had a game to game, and basically you had this whole. One of the things that was really good about it was there was just as much of a game after the game, right? You played this mini game after the game of rolling for treasure. So all your heroes that didn't get put out of action gave you a roll on an exploration chart as they searched around the battlefield for treasure. And you were both rolling to get a very high number because that gave you a lot of weird stone shards, but you were also rolling for doubles, triples, quadruples, quintuples, sextuples, etc., right? And this had a downside, by the way. Another design sort of flaw is that heroes are overwhelmingly important because, as you said, people can die, right? Like that's not a joke. If a henchman goes out of action, he's got a 1 in 3 chance of being permanently dead. On a 1 in 2, that guy's a corpse. So what that means is if you get 3 henchmen to go down, which is not unusual in a game, one of them ain't coming back. Timmy's not coming home, right? And what that means is that your heroes had a much lower chance to die, right? They only had about a 16-ish% chance to die, a little bit less than that. It's more like, let me think, 13.5% chance, something like that. But your heroes are too valuable to risk, right? So like playing tactically, smartly, whatever, meant never put your heroes in combat.
Mm-hmm.
The best heroes are the best war bands are the ones who had shooters as their heroes, right? Guys who could sit there and kill at range, never need to get in melee, hence never really risk much, because if you're at range and you're elevated and somebody starts shooting at you and injures you, if you're smart, you position yourself so when you fall down, because you actually place the model down, right, in line of sight, which true line of sight, you just couldn't see the model anymore, right? Put them in a window, they fall down, you can't see the model anymore, you can't shoot them, or one of their friends can, whatever, you know, cover them or whatnot. And hero, like warbands that had to go engage in melee, you're going to get heroes thumped on their heads, put out of action. That's less dice you're rolling for money, less ability to reinforce to replace your dead troops every time you start the downward spiral, right? And that's, I think, what you're talking about. Like, it was fairly easy for warbands to get into the downward spiral, where you just started losing and kept losing and kept losing, and your people are getting injured, and you're not replacing troops, and your warband is shrinking, which I think was actually important. One of the things I love about the game is that it's so god-awful punishing, right?
Yeah.
And because that made it really worth it. When you had a warband that like survived and got to a really high rating and you know, had heroes that were competent and not sucking chest wound, one-legged, one-eyed, one-handed wonders of Mordheim, right? Which all those things are legitimately true. I didn't make any of that up. That's all real results and how your heroes could end up. They could certainly leave with a lot less body mass than they started their time in Mordheim.
Yeah. Look at the chart and hope to God that you don't roll D6 times on the injury chart.
Oh, yes. Multiple injuries was generally like, well, this is going to be bad. But the...
It's not all bad, though. There are good things, too.
Oh, no, there's great things on there. Because you could get Old Frenzy. If you remember, 24 was had a split chart to it. So number 24 on the table, 1 to 3, you conked on the head, you're stupid from now on. Stupidity was rather crushing in Mordheim because, you know, again, you could sit there and do nothing. Mm-hmm. And 4 to 6, Frenzy. Oh, my God. That was 6th edition Frenzy. That's double attacks Frenzy, not +1 attack Frenzy. Double attacks Frenzy.
Which
you got a warband.
You got a
boss?
Weapon in each hand. You're attacking twice with each weapon.
I think that offhand still only added 1 ever. I'm pretty sure.
Nah, adds 2 where we play.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But yes, either way, you could end up with a ridiculous number of attacks. You had a 3-4 attacking hero, and suddenly he goes to like 8 attacks, whatever. The most vicious warband leader I ever had. I played a lot of this, and one of my warbands that went over probably got near about 500 rating. So at the end of that, I played a modified Tomb Kings list.
Yeah.
And the guy at the end, after I didn't quite fill his experience bar, all 90, but he was pretty close. And at the end of it, he was like, you know, some 8 attacking, strength 7 monstrosity, strength 7 or 8, you know, toughness 5, in heavy armor with layers of protection and step aside and whatever other nonsense he could have. I mean, it was just, you know, he single could take a starting warband. Certainly, they wouldn't even be a challenge to him. He would just wade his way through. So that's when you know it's time to put that up. Like, put that away. We've gone plaid.
That it's you feel really satisfied though when you get someone up that high, but there's also great satisfaction when you're getting your keister kicked and you've got like 3 or 4 guys left in your warband and you just roll house, like when you actually make it.
Absolutely. It is such a swingy game.
Being kicked down into the gutter,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's really great about it, right? Is that the emotional roller coaster of Mordheim was unlike most any other game, right? Because you could just get murdered, right? This shot that needed a 7 to hit could hit. You could roll a 6 and then a 4, and then it could roll a 6 to wound and crit, and then a 6 on the injury chart. And just all of a sudden, that model that was 2 wounds and had armor on just is dead. Mm-hmm. It's just like your bruiser, super sweet possessed model or whatever, right? It's just dead. Like, not dead permanently. You still got to roll later. But I mean, like, that thing is just out of action. Whammo. And what I loved about it is how quick it could swing from one extreme to the other. That is to say, like, you'd watch people's emotions when they're playing it go from like they have one series of really good rolls and they'd be like, "This is amazing, blah blah blah, yeah, you're gonna get it, that's it for you," and then like immediately it turns around and they get the same thing thrown back in their face because they get a bad series of rolls against them. They're like, "Oh my god, oh why? This is the worst. I hate this." The emotional roller coaster of Mordheim is real.
Yeah, it's like it really is a love-hate relationship. It's a why can't I quit you moment.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. I think that's like it's funny because it's one of the games. So I've talked before in other videos about the how we often want things that actually we don't. That is to say, as human beings, we have these sorts of weird conflicting things. I mean, if you think about this, it's obvious on its face, right? Like we smoke and drink and do other things we shouldn't do. And like we know that's bad and all that stuff, but we do it anyways because it's fun and ha ha ha, right? But in a more game sense, if you think about it, like people seem to want to win games. Like you want to win every game you walk up to, right? But if you really did win every game you walked up to, and if every time you roll the die, you're hoping for a good roll. But if every roll really was what you wanted, if it was a great roll, that game would immediately cease being fun.
Yeah.
Right? And so what was great about Mordheim is that it really did do that. It gave you that full range of experience, the good and the bad, the sweet and the sour, as it were. And boy, did it give it all in spades. You're on top of the world one moment, you're a one-eyed sucking chest wound pirate the next.
Another thing that I loved, well, still to this day love about this game, is the importance of terrain.
Oh yes, excellent point. Yeah, so get into that because you're talking about building the board. So why you need to build a board?
Yep. Yeah. If your table is not packed with buildings and bridges in between the buildings and little alcoves and sewer pipes and craters and barrels and crates everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. The game just wanted terrain, right? Like it needed it. It was meant to be a skirmish game. It was meant to be super terrain heavy. And it was fantastic because especially when you're used to, at that time when I had only played Warhammer and I was used to like the couple hills, a forest, something like that setup, to go into this game and just have it be ruined buildings and busted crates and fountains and statues and all this stuff to like hide behind and interact with. It was just amazing and super fun.
Yeah. It's a plus, like they added rules in where you can like jump charge on top of a guy. Like, how freaking awesome is that?
Yes, the old death from above. My favorite move in BattleTech, given life again in Mordheim. BattleTech will be a discussion for another time. But it was a nearly impossible maneuver to pull off for many warbands, and especially super easy for others. Yes. Like if you're a dwarf, your chance of death from above is more or less nil. Like forget about it. You can just skip that section.
Is that ever going to stop me from doing it though? No.
Sure.
Because it's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, and I mean, why? The reason why that is because a lot of these things like jumping, falling, climbing, all the like run around and interact with things in the game, like terrain pieces, was based on initiative, right? And
anybody knows anything about lizardmen, they're pretty much, except for skinks, universally initiative 1 across the board.
Right. So the sad part to that was it meant that there were there was another like sort of proud nail that bothered me because it meant some warbands were like freaking ninjas, right? They could just jump from rooftop to rooftop, never worrying, basically never falling. Like just sort of going wherever they wanted, doing whatever they wanted. And other warbands, you could sit there trying to get at an objective that was up on another story for the entire game and never make it, right?
Yeah.
And that's a bit disheartening.
Well, I mean, I kind of like that aspect of the game because, like, if you have a warband that is in a scenario, and that particular warband is gonna suffer because of one of its shortcomings, I mean, that just gives another angle of the game, because you've got to think about it a different way and attack it from a different angle, right?
Ideally, sure. My issue with that line of thinking is that it isn't like I'm totally good with that from the perspective of like scenario objectives. I agree with that. You know, not every scenario should be better for some people. You know, there should be variance in how easy a scenario is for groups and armies and warbands and whatever. I'm totally with that. Okay. My issue is that what we're not really talking about a scenario thing here, right? I'm just talking about like part of the core principle of playing the game is you get to have this fun of running around on rooftops and things like that, and climbing and jumping around terrain like your Batman. And there were certain war bands that just didn't get to do that, right? Like if you tried, you would just be throwing your soldiers away. And like,
yeah, for sure.
I am all for like doing some crazy things sometimes. Like you're right, I would try for a death from above, even when I knew mathematically it wasn't the right option, and that's fine. We're talking about something a little worse than that here, right? Like I would just like to climb up this thing because it is here, and it's completely not, you know, it's how I need to get to that place over there. Can I please just climb up it? And I got to spend 3 turns trying to jump up this damn thing.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it was just like a mechanic in the rules to say like, okay, you can do that, but it's going to take you 2 turns. Like you've got to move to the base of it, and then you've got to spend the rest of the time just sitting there readying yourself for it, and then move up it.
Right.
As opposed to trying to roll a 1 every time. Because for those of you who don't know, if you're taking an initiative test or any kind of stat test, you have to roll under your stat score. So, well, equal to or under.
Right. And you know, hey, look, I get it. I'm down with having some things be harder for warbands, like I said. That's all good. I'm not against that. But but everybody should be able to at least play the core elements of the game, right?
Yeah.
And like it shouldn't be so swingy with those core elements where like Skaven could just run around the board, right? Because they were all like initiative 5, initiative 6, whatever. Like they're just they always only failed on a 6. So if you just gave them like a rope and hook, they basically could never fail a check, right? Because that would let you reroll.
That's like something you'd expect from them, though, isn't it? Like they're rats,
little ninjas. Not every one of them. Maybe like sure the like black assassin gutter runners. Yeah, they should be pretty good at that. But should your average giant rat or verminkin, just some regular clan rat, should he be Batman every time when he's making these long jumps running around on rooftops?
No, because only lizardmen can be Batman. You should know that by now.
I'm sorry. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so that's my point, right? It's just I would be fine with that if it was like a special rule the gutter runners had, right? Because they are called gutter runners for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But it just went deeper. Don't even start on high elves and like the various elven warbands that showed up, the Shadow Warriors and all those things when those are published later and things like that. Those were just completely off the charts.
Well, for those of the viewers that don't know, in comparison to a regular human, an elf is a badass.
Yes, like, and you really feel it here.
Just straight up. That's why they also have, for those of you who don't know, have these cool things that you can add into your warband, but they have an upkeep price, which are hired swords. And one of them in particular is an elf ranger. And right off the hop, you can see the difference between, like, he is like twice, if not 3 times better than your warband leader will be, guaranteed.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Also, he was amazing because he gave you the old +1, -1 on your final roll or on your exploration rolls, right? Which any ability to manipulate those dice was just instant win.
And I mean, he's starting out with ballistic skill 5 and a bow that can shoot like 36 inches because it's an elf bow.
Yeah, absolutely. And things were really, most of your fire was pretty short range. Of course, if you play out of the book, again, like naked dudes with clubs and slings is the scariest thing in the world because they can shoot twice at close range with originally no penalty. That did get changed pretty fast when everybody realized that the 2 gold crown sling was better than any gun or crossbow in the world.
Well, of course, David and Goliath. Come on now.
Hey, you got me on that one. Absolutely. He took down that giant.
He really did. And stuff like that can happen in Mordheim. The littlest rat can take down the biggest Croxagore.
Well, yes, not a giant. Which is one of the things that always did kind of bother me about the game.
Well, you guys are taking care of that, though, aren't you?
We are, as a matter of fact, yes. So, not that I wanted to make this about well, we'll talk about what we're doing later. But yes, we are doing a new version of Mordheim for just a little fan-made rule set for Age of Sigmar, and I wanted to bring in the monsters. I say, why not? Now, obviously, in that game, you could bring in, like, ogres and such, right? So you had, like, your ogre bodyguard, your rat ogre, right? Who else? The orcs and goblins, when they got introduced, they had the troll.
The Croxagore was in there.
Lizardmen had their Kroiger, as I like to call him. Wrongly, but I don't care.
Most of the time, those particular models had a rule called either dim-witted or stupid or whatever, but they couldn't gain experience for anything.
Right. Which meant that, this was always another big, this is a proud nail. It's funny, I feel like I'm only saying things that are bad. I'm really not. This game is so good, okay? Like, it's just, in spite of its few flaws.
It's the little flaws, though, that I feel make the game what it is. Like, there's certain aspects of the game that make it really, really difficult that if they weren't there, it wouldn't be Mortheim. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, I don't consider any of that a flaw. Like, the difficulty, the murder, all of that, like, yeah, no, that's not a flaw. That's a strength. That's what makes the game good and replayable. It makes you want to keep doing it because your guys do get killed and hurt and injured. You get to carry them game to game. You have to suffer. Suffering is a very important part of any fun game. It sounds like I'm being facetious. I'm not. I am 100% serious. Any game that does not make you suffer in some amount is a terrible game, and you will not play it. I promise that's the case. And think about the most successful games in the world, okay? I guarantee you every one of them has that component in there, has suffering as a hard thing. A way to go bankrupt, a way to go to jail, a way to lose everything you've got, all this stuff, right? Now, there are a few exceptions in, like, very young kids' games like Candyland and stuff where it really is just like, dice roll where to just move up, right?
Well, I mean,
but when you think of, like... Go ahead.
If you look at even... sports games. I mean, look at the suffering in football and hockey. I mean, those guys get beat the fuck up.
Yes, absolutely. But you get the agony of defeat, right? All these things that come in. It's not just losing. It's the way you can lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all good games, like these kind of games, suffering is a necessary component. Because suffering is what makes you enjoy the good stuff. If the game works out in your favor all the time, if all you ever experience are positives, you will lose interest pretty much immediately and stop playing the game. And it's got to be more than, like, just losing, like just having it be fair and even every time isn't generally enough. It has to also be able to make you lose in spectacularly exciting ways, right? Yeah. Unexpected things.
Like having your... one of the things on the injury chart is your hero can become basically enslaved and then thrown into the pits with a pit fighter. Now,
who was no joke.
Yeah, it's happened to me several times where that pit fighter will just straight up kill your warband leader.
Like without trying too hard too. Because
Yeah,
if he won initiative and got the charge, so again, we should also state like just keeping in mind the rules differences, right? If you charged, you went first, right?
yeah.
Period. So it was still that period of rules. Um, so if
Unless you
that
had a great
happened,
weapon.
unless you had a great weapon, in which case you always still went last. If I remember
Yeah.
right, great weapon still always made you go last.
Yep.
And which meant great weapons were terrible and you should never take them. And flails, if you had access to them, were amazing because this game allowed weapon switching, right? Like you could carry multiple weapons and switch between them. So hence flails were the shit because you could just run up, go on your initiative, have that +2 strength, and then switch out to a good old club and sword, club and dagger, and then get the more attacks in your later rounds and not be have something going on.
I preferred having the sword just for the parry.
You mean the most useless mechanic ever? Sure, absolutely. Why not?
I liked it. I like that little mini game where it's like, as long as you roll higher than your opponent, you're good, but you can only do it once.
Yes. Yeah.
And pray
True.
to God he doesn't roll a 6.
Right. So yes, how I don't want to get too deep into something so boring, but the way parrying worked was you could only parry one attack around, and to parry you had to roll higher than your opponent's highest dice roll. So if you had like so if they rolled a 6, you were screwed. You couldn't parry. That was it for that. Unless you were a cheaty dwarf, because cheaty dwarves could parry on equal number and could parry like twice.
Yeah. Also, speaking of cheaty dwarves, 1 and 2, you're on just face up on the ground. Yeah. 3 and 4, you're stunned. 5 and 6, you're out. Yeah, well, dwarves are just say no to that. They're like, nah.
Now, very resistant to being stunned. Only went out of action on a 6.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh. Just die already.
Yeah, they were very tough. Obviously, their big drawback was they only started with 4 heroes, right? Whereas most warbands started with 5 or 6, which was your maximum number.
I find that their movement was a big drawback too, because it takes them longer to get behind cover and stuff.
Yes, they were shockingly. I know that I'm probably surprising our viewers here, but the dwarves were not the sprinters of the Mordheim world. Yes, that movement 3 was a real not great thing in an objective-based game where you often needed to get to a place on the board to win.
Yeah. Which is why skinks were so good.
Yes, much like the Skaven, they were rocking that 6-inch movement. I should state that I think this is a fairly non-controversial statement, but I'm sure someone might disagree with me. But I would say it's a pretty non-controversial statement that the Skaven were the best warband in the base book. Just in the original one. They were undercosted, had ridiculous skills that were just so good because they had a whole cast of special skills that were just over the top. They had the best access to gear, and their troops had better stats than other people, and they could have more of them.
Yeah. I was gonna be like, wait, no, the possessed, but their cost was ridiculous. So you'd have like you'd start your warband and you'd have 3 guys.
Exactly. Skaven had the right mix of murder and undercosted troops, and yeah, it was just great.
I really like that they went heavy to the clan Ishin side. That was always my favorite Skaven clan.
Yeah, I love me a ninja rat.
Oh yeah,
sure. It always bothered me that they had a rat ogre in there and a spellcaster. I felt like those are the 2 guys that didn't belong.
I felt like the rat ogre was okay because he was like the big brute that was there to deal with stuff that the little ninjas couldn't. But I agree completely with you with the sorcerer. Actually, wizards are a thing in Mordheim that I'm kind of like, because everybody's supposed to be a scrub, right? So, in my opinion, wizards just shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Your wizards were clearly not as good as your normal book wizards. They had like one spell you determine randomly. And actually, all of our viewers who have played AOS will know exactly how to cast spells in Mordheim because that's what AOS used. AOS used the Mordheim casting method, if you think about it, right? It's just there's a spell, it has a difficulty, you roll 2 dice. If you get that difficulty, you cast the spell. That's it. You cast one spell a turn.
Done deal. Super simple. There wasn't any dispelling, I don't think, either, was there?
Nope.
No.
But again, like, if you played Skaven and you rolled Warp Flame, or Warp Fire, or whatever it was, Warp Fire, I think. Woo! Look out for that guy. He's going to get some experience. Because that was like one of the few AoE spells in the game, right? You kill a model and then burn everybody around them. I mean, it was out of control. Yeah. So deadly.
Pretty much, we need the opponent roll that spell, and it was pretty much, okay, we need to get him dead right now.
Yeah, that guy better be target priority number 1.
Yeah.
But so the Skaven Warband, I think, was the best in the base book, though there were plenty of other cheater ones added. But it's probably worth mentioning that you really could. The game did a great job of. I say they're the best warband, but I mean that in sort of that's only true in a vacuum, right? Like one of the things that absolutely defined this game was that you played with scenarios, and I really don't even remember. I think I've played the let's all just have a punch up in the middle scenario, because one of those was just like, let's fight, and it's just a fighty scenario and there's no other points going on. I think I've played that 2 times in the hundreds of games of Mordheim I've played, because it's awful, and why bother? Use the other scenarios. There were 9 in the base book, and then there are about a bajillion online that people have made and came in later books and so on and so forth.
Out of the base book, my favorite one's definitely the one I can never remember the name of it, but it's freaking awesome. It's like the Warriors movie where you've got to get like off the other side of the board.
Yes, I think it's called Street Fight, maybe, or maybe that's
like that. Yeah.
Breakthrough, Blockade.
Breakthrough. That's it.
There you go.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's like so narrative. Your guys are like lost in the streets. They're out of their territory in Mordheim or whatever, and they've got to make it home. And this other warband or other 2 warbands, depending on how many other players you're playing against.
Very easy multiplayer, right? Which was a great thing.
Oh yeah.
Super easy 2 to 4 players, which made it great for my group because I've usually got, when we were playing, we usually had 3-4 people all the time.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's a super easy game to learn, like, because obviously the gateway drug to Mordheim is going to be Warhammer Fantasy. So once you get that little hurdle finished and over with, Mordheim was like, it was like you'd already been playing the game forever.
Yeah, I'm not sure how easy it was to learn. I might actually push back on that. If you were a Warhammer Fantasy player, it was easy because, of course, you just knew it for free. You learned one additional chart, the injury chart, right? And you learned some special rules on like shooting and charging and intercepting, and that was it. You're done. But like models had 360-degree vision and all that kind of stuff, right? Again, maybe it's my love of Mortheim that made me like more accepting of some of the AOS changes, like 360-degree vision and independent movement and stuff like that. I've played so much of that in my life. I'm just like, yeah, sure, why not?
I think at first I was like totally against AOS. I was like, nope, don't like it. Send it back. It's over.
Sure.
But I'm not like, I'll say shit like that, but I'm not the type of person to just not give something a chance. And I mean, I played one game and it reminded me of Mordheim so much just because of the movement aspect and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It was like, yeah, okay, I'm hooked.
But So it was very scenario driven, and there's a lot of great scenarios that all had lots of different like ways to earn experience and things you needed to care about, and you could often win when losing, right? Like if you play, that was what another great thing about it was sometimes the winner could still be the loser, and sometimes the loser could still be the winner. Like the victory condition you might have achieved to actually win, but it could easily be a very Pyrrhic victory, right? Boy, did that game define Pyrrhic victories. And at the same time, the guy who lost might actually end up coming out smelling like roses if he kind of, routed at the right time or gets a lucky roll at the end in the exploration chart or, any of a million things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're playing that mini game afterward again, so much fun because you had the whole like roll for exploration, then roll for injuries, right, for your beat up people. And then you get to play the game of going out and trying to get stuff, trying to recruit new troops and find rare gear and crap like that, right? Nothing was automatic. Everything had to be earned.
That was the other thing I really liked too, was like, if you got that roll and actually found an artifact, you were like, oh my god. It just felt so important and so awesome because nobody ever, like, it's so rare to find a magic item in that game.
Yes. Yeah, magic items were all artifacts. That was the only actual magic items. And the only way you could get them was generally a 1 in 6, or if you rolled the absolute right thing, a 1 in 3 chance on a 6 of a kind. Which you could never roll more than 6 dice, which sounds hard, but it's really not. That was one of the problems. So one of my problems with the game over time as the community developed it, and when I played it recently, like about a year ago, I played about a 6-month game that used all of these additional rules. And we had lucky charms and all this kind of stuff. And all these things that let us re-roll on the injury table and, whatever. Tarot cards and blah, blah, blah. I had a halfling warband that just was unstoppable because all the heroes were ranged. They never went out of action. I was always rolling like 9 dice and taking the best 6 and re-rolling 8 of them. And I had like 5 +1 -1s every game because all the halflings are like leadership 9 or 10, so it was easy to use tarot cards on all of them. I was just rich beyond me reason, I'm like rolling with 500, 600, 700 gold in the bank, which is just an outrageous number for Mortheim. You should never have that much money. You should be rolling with like 5. You should be scraping to buy a sword.
I'm happy when, I come away with like 10 to 20.
Yes, I had a single character with 3 artifacts off the magical artifact table on him. So,
jeez.
Because I just got to the point where I could manipulate the rolls so easily, right, that I was always getting 6 of a kind. Like, unless I had some really terrible roll, I could just usually get to 6 of a kind. I just aim for like the 4, 5, 3, something in the middle where you can adjust it from both directions, and it just wasn't that hard. I actually ended not achieving my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal with the game, with that halfling warband, was so my halfling leader was like ballistic skill, whatever. Let's say 7, where you hit on zeros or -1s, some ridiculously low number, right? And I was trying to get him so there was a spell that was in lesser magic, okay, that fired like 2d6 or 3d6 shots like a magic missile, but you actually had to roll to attack with them. Okay, and you used your own ballistic skill. And they were all like strength 4 hits or something, okay? And I want to say you got 2d6 of them. It was a ridiculous number, which meant you got an average of 7 shots. But the warlock or whatever that you could hire, because there was a hireling warlock, that guy had like a base ballistic skill of 2, right?
Yeah.
So like when he got that spell, which was random, he wasn't that dangerous with it because he was usually missing and not wounding and such like that. But you could make anybody a spellcaster as long as they had like academic, and then you had to get them the tome, and then you had to like there was like all this things you could do. It could eventually turn anybody into spellcaster, but it just cost hundreds of gold and was nearly impossible. But I had done it. He had academic, he had gotten the tome, he had learned lesser magic, And I rolled 4 times on that freaking table because every spell you got was random. 4 times, never got the magic missile. I just had like 4 other spells. But if he would have ever got that magic missile thing, I was like, I'm just going to assassinate one person a turn. Because it was like super crazy long range, too, for that game. It was like 36 inches, which was just stupidly long, like you mentioned with the elf bow.
Yeah, it's like the whole table.
Yeah.
It's okay. This game is best played on a 4x4 table.
Right.
Packed with terrain.
Yes. So hence, if you've got a 36-inch range and you hit on, because it always hit on unmodified. That was the key with that one, right? Like that spell, you always hit on your unmodified ballistic skill. It didn't count range or cover or anything. It was just whatever. So I would have had 7 auto hits, right? Because sure, and just absolutely assassinated people, and it would have been amazing. Sadly, it never came to pass. I had to settle for my guy with only 3 artifacts. Wasn't even the leader. That was the
Poor
thief.
you. Poor you.
I know, right? Ridiculous. Bunch of crap. Game's not fair.
So I've got a question. If
Shoot.
you were to start a warband like right now, right this second, what warband would you pick and what models would you use for that warband?
Oh my god. You just gonna bust that question out on me? All right.
I am. I'm dropping it. I dropped the mic right there.
Okay, that's fine. Sure. So does this happen? Like, I would want to start something I've never played before. And the problem with that is a short list. Okay? I have played, like, if it exists as a warband, I've probably played it. I've got a I kept all my old, like, everything going all the way back to my Skaven. Which all my Skaven in my first time I ever ran it, I had a Skaven warband get up very high, and the only other person who was as successful as me was the dwarves. So it was like the dwarves were unkillable, and I murdered everything I touched, and we were afraid to ever fight because we knew that like it would just end so badly. Everybody else had been wrecked and fallen out of the campaign. The 2 of our warbands that were just rock solid, and I never wanted to do it, but because I was just like, what's going to happen is one of us is going to lose everything. So we never actually ended up playing it all the way through. Let's see. I'm looking to my left here because I'm looking at a list of all of the warbands. So, who would I play? All right. I would play the Sisters of Sigmar, absolutely. I don't care that I've played them before. I never had the real figs. What would I use for them? I would use the Toughest Girls in the Galaxy 2 minis when they come out a year from now. So I don't get to play this warband for a year, but it would be totally worth it because they're amazing. In the interim, I guess I would use the Mantic warrior women, like they have like the flagellant chicks and stuff. I would use those. Those are really good Sisters of Sigmar stand-ins. As well, I would use the 4 sisters that I actually have, because now I have 4, and they are 4 of the proudest minis in my collection. I love them. So I'd use those 4. Yeah. Because I think the Sisters of Sigmar are a super awesome concept, and how is that not a thing? I find that this is an element of GW I found fascinating. To go on a slight mini rant here. What the hell? Why can we not get... Like, I don't want to believe that people in GW are sexist, but do they really think that, like, female minis just wouldn't sell? Are the sculptors just not wanting to do them? I can't even wrap my head around it, especially given the reset that happened in AOS. How did we not have female minis somewhere? And this is true in 40K, too. Like, the Sisters of Battle, I hate 40K's aesthetic in general. But the Sisters of Battle are some of the most beautiful looking troops in the history of 40K. They're amazing. The sculpts are fantastic. And yet, not ever really released as a real army in plastics. Because we're going to make another brand of Space Marines in a slightly different armor here coming up.
I'll tell you why.
Please do. I want to know.
This is my... It's not exactly why, but it's a theory.
All right, I'm ready. Drop some knowledge on me.
It is incredibly difficult to find a sculptor who is good at doing the female form. The male form is just easier to sculpt.
Sure, 'cause it's just a big square.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The female form, like especially when it comes down to laying your skin on top of the anatomy and things like that, you've got to be a lot smoother. Your angles all have to be correct, because I mean, who's gonna buy an ugly female model?
Well, a lot of people, as like Zorita or whatever out of Malifaux proves, like she sells a lot, and she's a weird little malproportioned hag woman. And I don't mean that in any disparaging fashion. I mean literally, she's like a hag from the swamp. But sure, I'll buy that. I'll totally buy that. Okay, but I still call shenanigans, because GW, if GW doesn't employ the best sculptors in the world, then I don't know why. Like, because they should be willing to throw more money at it than anybody. They should, like, the best architects, like, or the best, you know, whatever, software developers don't go work at Putsy Yo-Buddy Company. They're either doing their own thing, which is fine. So, like, that's the Creature Caster guy, right? He's an amazing sculptor, and he went out and did his own thing. He's got his own company. So I get that. Or you work for the best, because they're the ones who pay and who will retain and who will let you, you know, do your best work.
Well, I have to call shenanigans on part of that, because the reality is, like, you just got to look as far as the witch elves. Like,
yeah, who exist, sure.
Yeah, clearly they have access to sculptors that can do the female form.
Well, they had access to Diaz, and then they ripped him off to make the new witch elves, but it was still a great piece of work, yes.
Right, like even the Sisters of Avalon, an entire unit of females, and they look great.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And those are both releases from 2013. I mean, those are not old. Like, those are not old releases.
Sure. And yet, here we are. So, the mini rant over. For people who play, make some Sisters of Battle, for God's sakes, for those people who play 40K. I don't play 40K, but you can burn off 3 weeks of releases on making plastic Sisters of Battle, because why not? Just, come on, GW. All right, anyways. So, that's my answer.
My retort to Tom is elves don't count.
That's a good point. I mean, he's got you on that one, Tom. Elves do not count. Because, I mean, basically they're all just androgynous, like, 1970s Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie characters. So it's really pretty irrelevant. All right, so turn the question. Oh, and by the way, here you go. The reason I wasn't painting is because I'm pretty sure I finished what I was working on. So here we go. There you go. My realm gate.
I am so glad you went with blue. That looks so good.
Thank you. I went back and forth with a lot. There's some purple and stuff in there too, but
yeah, I see a bit of green in the bottom there too as well.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I didn't end up I didn't end up picking this out with like metal. I know in the base book they did this with metal and some metal worked in here, but I can't square that in my head.
Yeah, I like yours way better.
Like, if you go look at old buildings that are made of stone, they don't just have metal stapled to them, right? Like, the Parthenon is just stone. That's what it is. That's what this thing should be. So, yeah, there you go. One down.
I'm one down too. I just finished working the base. This is my Warband leader, so we're in the theme here. Finished up the base work on my Mr. Freeze.
Nice.
Because I am doing a Lizardmen Warband that is themed after the Batman Rogues Gallery. So I'm going to have Joker, Penguin, and I'm unfortunately going to have to put some skinks in there so that I can do Poison Ivy and Catwoman and whatnot as well.
Well, you gotta have all the good stuff. Sure. I mean, you can't really do the Lizardman Warband without skinks. I mean,
no.
Your general is a skink in that, or your commander or whatever.
Not in the Warband I'm using actually.
Yeah, that's right. You have a different Lizardman one. In the original Lizardman one it was.
Yeah, I've got there's him. I've got two. He's the Revered Guardian, and then there's Temple Guard, and then I'm gonna have Saurus and Skinks. So that'll be my Warband. 5 Saurus, 5 Skinks, and then 2 Temple Guard and a Revered Guardian.
So if you were going to make a second warband, let's turn the question back on you. You're going to make a second warband. So what are you making? What models are you using? Now drop the
Um,
question on you.
I would do the. I think I would do the Wood Elves, and for uh, I think I would do the one that is because there's multiple Wood Elf warbands. I would do the one that is more geared towards the Wild Riders and whatnot, where
Okay.
they've got it's more in tune with that sort of Kurnos idea of everything. And I would literally pack that warband full of Deepwood Rangers, and like I would take those and convert them, like kit bash basically them and the Wild Riders, and because I just think that would look freaking awesome. The I don't know what it is about the Deepwood Ranger models, but just like their torso and their legs with that sweeping cloak is just, oh, so good. And I think taking that and putting like the Wild Rider helmet head on there would just look freaking amazing.
Yeah, my Wild Riders are also converted. Like I don't know if I've ever showed them for like because I finished them forever ago, but they're on the cats. They're on like the Mantic Panthers.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, Wild Riders are good. No, they were good models. I can't work on the next Realm Gate because I didn't finish up all my airbrushing I needed to do before we started this. So now it's just got to sit there because like there's an airbrushing step in between this and this. Oh well, whatever. Who cares? Um, that's fine. Fortunately, I put all this stuff behind me, so we can go for Gluisode.
Lewis.
Just gotta figure out what I'm gonna glue together here. I know. Probably prosecutors.
Oh,
By the way,
boy.
I have 5 Lord Celestins on Dracoth now.
You have 5 of them?
Yeah,
Dear Lord, man.
I can't help myself.
I can't help
I have a
myself.
problem. Okay.
I have a problem. I don't have enough Celestins.
Yeah, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with 5 Lord Celestins on Dracoth.
You know what I want to see,
Something.
Vince?
Tell me. I'm looking for ideas. I'm gonna turn
I
one into a hippogriff, so I have like a Bretonian general on hippogriff because I don't have that model.
I want to see you put a Necrosphinx
Uh-huh.
and the Dracroth together.
Okay. All right. I feel like I would be kind of ripping off Thomas Mertens because I'm pretty sure he did that already. He does have a Necrosphinx Dracoth combo. But sure.
I haven't seen it. I just think, like, I don't even think you'd really have to do much. I just think it would look awesome if you just head swapped it. Like if you took the Dracoth head and put it inside that big, huge headdress that the Sphinx has.
Yes.
That would be absolutely fantastic.
All right. I think I have an extra couple of those headpieces.
Yeah, you know, maybe an extra 3. I've only seen... You've done 2 of them so far, right?
How many war kitties do I have? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm scared to ask that question. I'm asking about
The answer is 6.
Dracoths.
I'll tell you right now, the answer is 6.
Oh, God.
And how many Necrosphinxes do you have on top of that?
No, that's total. There are 5 War Sphinxes and 1 Necrosphinx. I have the pieces to convert my... I want to do one that's like a combo, like... I'm not sure how I want to do it. Because I want to get like a Tomb King's... I did 1 Tomb King's Terrorgeist, and I'm thinking about doing a second one somehow. Yeah, I'm kind of up in the air. I have a bunch of extra big monster and dragon and War Sphinx parts, and I haven't decided yet how I want to shove them all together. Somehow they're going to all get shoved together into some big monstrosity. But hey, viewers out there, if you have an idea of what I can convert all these Lord Celestins on Dracoths into, put them below. I'd love to see them because I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them because you really don't need that many of that guy. I mean, there's no reason you couldn't take multiples of him. He's as grabbable as anything else.
Yeah.
He's just a hero. He doesn't have any other keywords. So even by most compacts, he's generally pretty forgiving. Although I saw a new comp today we're going to talk about on Warhammer Weekly this week that I really did like, because it was built solely on. It was a pool choice comp and all that, and it was built on what actually made the model scary. So like, what you got out of one pool choice was the whatever number of things comes on the worst roll, 5, 10, 15, whatever, blah blah blah, right? And the extra points that it cost were based on like it has wizard levels, or the number of spells it can cast, the number of spells it can cast that are summon spells. It has a ranged weapon, it has rend, it has a damage of 2 or D3, it has a damage value greater than 2 or a D3, that kind of stuff. And so it was really neat. And on that system, most of your troops end up being like 1, 2 choices. Your good lords, your scary people are like 5, 6, maybe a little more. Some of the big guys that can are really scary spellcasters were like 9. Nagash was 23. And when you consider that the average game size is either 30 or 45 pool choices, that should give you a real idea of the cost of Nagash. He's expensive.
Well, he deserves it.
That's right, that bastard. So to return back to the original subject, which was Mordheim.
You look confused.
I do. That's because I'm trying to figure out. My clippers didn't go back where they're supposed to go, and now I'm wondering where they went. That'll really put a little. Oh, there they are. Like I say, that'll put a little problem in this endeavor. All right. So we kind of talked through the warbands and what they are and the rules and that kind of stuff to some degree. I think the other things I would say about the game of Mordheim that I really loved was just the tone of it, right? It was like that. If Warhammer is normally a pretty realistic, gritty world, man, Mordheim was just that on 11, right? I mean, it was the grittiest.
It just made you want to slit your wrists and go sit in a corner.
Well, you should probably do that in the reverse order, just because, otherwise you're not going to necessarily make it to the corner. So that's important. But yes, I mean, it was just wonderful. It was very, just very dark in tone, and it did such a good job of communicating that through all of the rules and what's out there, through things like those critical hits and through things like those injury tables. It really did. It's a great example of where the rules synergized with the fluff really well, right? And that isn't always a given. That is something I would definitely say. Was there anything that leaps to your mind that you particularly loved, fluff-wise, in the game?
I just loved the fact that everybody was converging on this city, and that the scope of the city was so big. It wasn't just a little village. It was a city. So in terms of terrain and things like that, you could really go sort of balls to the walls wherever you wanted, because I mean, the scenery is a lot more varied, and I mean the tone of everything is very sort of bleak. Everything's painted in a shade of gray sort of deal, covered in green slime.
Yep.
But it's
here's another small thing, and maybe this was done for cost purposes, maybe not. I don't really know. Was there a single piece of color art in the original Mordheim book? I mean, besides maybe a picture of a model in the middle, but the actual art. I feel
there was not.
Black and white. What's that?
No, there was not. There was miniature photos. There was a set of 8 to 10 miniature photos that were colored in the middle. That were like diorama style photos, but everything else was black and white.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. It was all just so like it was sketchy and line drawn. It's really the art style that I love. That's like right in my wheelhouse art wise. And again, it was all like maimed people and people with weird heads and flagellants and just everything insane. Like there was just no character that wasn't missing a limb or an eye or something, right?
Or had like a hideously scarred face.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you finally joining us for real, Tom?
I am.
Hey, all right. Welcome. I'm glad to see you're not just listening on camera. We do appreciate that.
Well, like I was trying to jump in when I could, but obviously with baby in hand, I'd prefer to not have the baby commentary.
I appreciate that too, more than you know. By the way, if there's anybody else out there who wants to, join the conversation or so on and likes Mortheim or stuff like that or has anything they want to share, hey, feel free to, just shoot me an email and we'll get you in here.
So Tom.
Yeah.
Are you planning on doing anything like crazy with your table or?
Kind of, yeah. So, I am. So the plan is like I'm going to make a canal system, and I'm going to have the tables interchangeable, so that the plan is to have basically like two different positions of canal entries, either at the middle of an area or at the 2/3 spot on a table. Am I able to share images? Is that possible?
Yeah, just you screen share.
Okay. Let me see if I can find. I have anyways, I'll pull up an image, or I'll try to find an image of kind of the layout of my plan. Here it is. Never mind. Huzzah! Look at that.
We can't see it if you're doing it.
I know. I'll be there in just a minute. Okay. I'm going to screen share an app. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
So,
you should lock it on your screen though, just to be
I
sure.
already locked it on.
okay, awesome. So here is so the idea is to use 4 base tiles. So these are going to be the Realm of Battle style tiles. And the idea is that so it's going to be on like MDF board, a 2 foot by 2 foot section, and everything that is white there is raised up 2 inches. Okay. So and you guys may have talked about this already, but one of the significant things about Mordheim is elevation changes. Like elevation changes are a big thing, and they need to be a big thing. And so one way I want to do that is with canals. And so the canals will be they'll be on the wood, and then it'll come up 2 inches, and that'll be the street level, and then I'll have buildings that'll bring it up another series. And so the 4 core tiles are going to be these 2, and then these 2. And they make a multitude of interchangeability options between those 4 tiles. Obviously, even without buildings. And then in addition to that, there are other 2 additional tiles. These are the other 2 tiles that I was looking at doing. And so then they create this multitude of different options for board stuff, which obviously like some nice flexibility for table options there. And then I've always wanted to build a harbor, and so I'm also going to be doing. So I have 8 panels, and so the last 2 are probably going to be this. And I'm actually those little colored pieces are the docks at different elevations. So the purple elevation is at 2 inches up, which is equal with the street level, and then it'll drop down 1 inch, and that'll be the red, and then down at water level will be the orange, or just above water level. And so there'll be a nice set of elevation changes there amongst the docks, and then these will obviously butt up against the various other tiles. So what I'm doing is I said that those are raised up like 2 inches. using the street level. I'm actually going to be who was it? It was Nick maybe. Had showed the patterned where are they? Here they are. Let me pull these down real quick. Had shown these patterned like street things, and so these are basically like polyester like pattern sheets. This is a brick, like a patterned brick.
You didn't just say a word, but we know what you mean.
Polystyrene, I believe, is what
Yeah,
you said.
I'm sorry. There, that's what I was looking for. Sorry, it's late. It's been a long day. So, so here's a pattern. Yeah, polystyrene. These are a patterned, like brick, and I'm going to use this for the vertical elevations. And for the actual streets, I'm going to use the like a pattern that looks like a bunch of like polished like cobblestones. And I'm going to do that on all sides, including the outsides of the table, so that even the dock sections that have like docks along the edge, can butt up against those other tiles and still look right. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I'm gonna the plan is to start with 4 panels, and then I'll move on to the more elaborate panels as I move forward.
If you need any help or advice with water features, go to Terrainscapes.
Mm-hmm.
His channel on YouTube. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I had linked Vince to one of his seascape that he just recently finished.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's bonkers. Like
Yeah.
it is ridiculous.
He did a beautiful job on that board.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So, the other thing I'm going to do is on top of I need to make sure that this is going to work, but on top of all of the foam, the 2-inch foam, underneath the polystyrene sheet is I'm going to have sheet metal, so that all the streets will be magnetized. Or that magnetized characters will stick to the streets. Because the other thing that I've done with a lot of my terrain pieces is I've magnetized a bunch of like fences and all that stuff, so that I can basically literally like lock those terrain pieces onto the board.
That's amazing. That is the best idea I've ever heard of.
And so it should also, with stairs and stuff like that, with miniatures going up and down stairs, it will lock the characters onto stairs.
Yeah, don't give him credit yet. He's still got to pull off this magical board.
Hey, you watch your mouth. It's going to be epic.
Hey, I wish you all the best, man. I hope you complete it. I'm just staring at 5 unpainted armies, and I'm not sure that, I'm not sure what kind of time frame we're talking about here. Am I going to be drawing a social security check by the time you, of course not, that won't be around still, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
By the time you actually get this plan in motion.
So let's ignore Vince's haterade. Notice how positive Vince is normally until it comes to me, and then it's all haterade. Okay. Anyways, so
well, it's got to come out somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's because you're my good friend, and because I love you, Tom. Nothing but love, buddy.
Exactly. For those that, I don't know if you guys have talked about terrain very much, but for those that are looking for good Mordheim terrain, obviously, like there are a bunch of like the old stuff is almost like available at this point. It's prohibitively expensive. There's some good cardstock terrain companies out there, and I would recommend those if you're not just straight up building things. But one other one that I've just recently found that I was real skeptical. I backed the Mantic Kickstarter, and as an add-on, they offered some foreground terrain from their what was the town called? Mordenberg.
What do you mean? What is the town called? In the most ridiculous rip-off name in history, the town is called Mordenberg. That is, Mordenberg.
How have
Jewel
they not
of
been
the
sued yet by somebody? for
Mordenberg,
something?
Jewel of the Empire, just down the River Rook. from Altdorn. You know, Mordenberg. Everybody knows Mordenberg.
Oh, that's so painful.
I thought that was hilarious. That being said, I saw a piece of the train he puts together. It's all like it's the laser cut wood stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So it also smells like delicious barbecue.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's the laser cut wood and it's pre-painted.
Yeah.
So there's like no work to it other
I
than
like that. I like no work on terrain.
And so here's I finished a piece of it. I don't know how well you guys can see this. Hold on, let me get a light.
Yeah, it's kind of washed out there. Oops, let me lock it on you. Yeah.
Very
Okay,
nice.
super sturdy. Okay, and then on top of that, it's also removable, and you can get a view inside. It has like a functional trap door and everything. Like, this stuff is legit. Like, I am already planning on picking up the last, like, basically 2 sets that I don't have. So I highly, highly recommend it for those that are interested in picking up some more Mordheim terrain, and they're not willing to drop a little. You know, they're not afraid to drop a little bit of cash on it. So it's super high quality stuff. So, like, I was real skeptical initially. No longer. I built a little like the horse wagon and one building, and I'm sold on this stuff. Like, it's really sturdy. Yeah.
You too can visit the jeweled wonder that is Mordenberg.
So yeah, so I highly recommend that, and that's the project that I had been working on. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
Tom, since you weren't here earlier, what
Yep.
what about Mordheim? Mordheim. Oh my God! See now,
you cut out.
Mordenberg. I'm infected by Mordenberg. What about the game did you particularly enjoy? Was there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to mention?
I enjoyed the narrative carryover. So between games, the fact. Say what?
No, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. The narrative carryover between games. I love the fact that that I loved and hated the fact that the story of my heroes progressed, whether I wanted it to or not. Whether I just like this last summer I started a Forest Goblin Warband, and the Forest Goblins are terrible, unsurprising, and say what?
Says you.
And the heroes are doubly so. Like, your job as a Forest Goblin Warband leader is to get your heroes killed, and your like ghetto people. Lads got talented up into hero status. Like that. That's your job is to kill your heroes, and beef up all of your normal henchmen into hero status.
Would you like to explain the Lads Got Talent, because we did not cover that concept previously?
Yeah. So when you have basically 2 different types of troops, you have heroes and henchmen. Henchmen are your rank and file kind of guys. Heroes are heroes, and they are on kind of 2 different like advancement charts. And both, like, whenever they level up, they gain like stats or skills. You guys had mentioned that previously, but when henchmen level up, there's a chance that they'll on like a 10 to 12, I believe it was, they will have a thing called Lads Got Talent. And so it basically one of your henchmen in one of the henchmen out of one of like a henchman unit is promoted up to hero status, assuming you have room, because in some way he has distinguished himself from the group. And so now you have a new hero on your hands, and it has all the stats and all of the stuff that your henchman previously did. And for the Forest Goblin Warband, the heroes were all pretty terrible. They were basically henchmen. I mean, but they didn't have the actual abilities some of the abilities that the unique henchmen did, like berserkers that had frenzy and stuff like that. And so the hurlers that could throw 3 thrown weapons per melee round or per round and stuff like that. So
weren't they called sluggas?
No, they were called hurlers, or maybe they were sluggers.
I'm pretty sure they were sluggas.
Yeah, needless to say, your whole goal was to get rid of your heroes. And so anyways, so this summer one of my hero goblins got caught on the front line somewhat accidentally, and ended up getting put out of action. And when I finally got to the post game phases, I rolled on the injury chart, did multiple injuries, and this dude had a peg leg, lost a hand. It was just this ridiculous long list, and I'm like, well, he's suddenly a hero just got upgraded to henchman screening front line to see if I could exacerbate his execution, or not exacerbate, but expedite his execution. So
you might say you wanted to expedite it, yes.
Yes, that as well. So, anyways, yes. So that was fun. So the whole carryover where individual heroes and individual models had a history and had a story, and I loved that. It harkened back to because it made every game so exciting. It doesn't matter if the actual game itself was terrible. You could have gotten curb stomped. That's not what matters. What's interesting is what's going to happen to your warband on the other side of that.
Right.
And that's what was so engaging, and that's what was so fascinating to me.
I totally agree. That post game, and it's funny because later on they came out with some additional warbands, and so Merrick, how much of the obviously you're clearly also not afraid of the community-driven warbands, right?
Nope.
And I say good on you. This is another thing. This is so the community effort with stuff in Warhammer or AOS or whatever. Maybe another reason I'm so on board with that is because with Mordheim, all we had is community-driven stuff, right? I mean, there was no actual anything else from the game. So, and I should say that that's true for both the efforts with 9th edition and the efforts with AOS for comp. I mean, that doesn't matter. It's all the same to me. I love community-driven effort, and I've seen how good it can be when you get a lot of people in the community who really care about something and put it all together. So I think that's what's cool about that. And so, what was your favorite? Besides the Lizardman one, which you clearly like for understandable reasons, were there any out there of the experimental or whatever warbands that you particularly found amusing or fun?
I actually really enjoyed the Bretonnians.
Okay. So I think they came out in one of the town criers originally.
Yeah. I guess it's not community created, but it
okay.
came out afterwards. So
yes.
Yeah,
close enough.
I just really enjoyed that it was you had your knight and you had to work your ass off to get him a horse. Things like that. It felt like you were actually bringing your guys up from nothing, and they would be you're knighted now. It was just the narrative with them I felt was really strong because it related a lot to what actually happened in real life, sort of deal, where you had a guy come up from nothing, he got knighted, shit like that.
Sure. It's funny you say that because the Bretonnians are an interesting example. I actually rewrote the Bretonnian warband because I was so unhappy with the existing one. Because I actually felt exactly the opposite of what you're saying. They were all knights. Yeah, because they were all knights, and they could all be mounted and start with freaking. You could start with horses and crap with them, and it just drove me bonkers because I was
when we played the game, you didn't get a horse to start off.
Sure, well, it was a bad choice. Horses in that game were generally terrible.
But the horses did all the work. What are you talking about?
The horses couldn't go in buildings.
Yeah, but if your opponent was stupid enough to stay out, your knight was never doing any of the killing. It was always the horse.
Well, that's true, but unfortunately, yes. Somebody's going to eventually realize when fighting you, hey, wait a minute. That guy can't take his best characters into any buildings. I guess you could
Sucks
dismount,
for
but you know, whatever.
Yeah, even dismounting was a painful enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I felt like here was my problem. When I looked at, and I felt this with a lot of the later armies, okay, that there was, when the community did something wrong, here was how I felt they usually did it wrong, okay? Everybody, so we had the base armies, the Cult of the Possessed and the Witch Hunters and the Reichlanders and Marienburgers and all this stuff, right? None of those actually really look like their army game world counterparts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you think about it, none of those are actually the Empire. And the Skaven weren't actually the Skaven, right? They were some weird facet of Clan Eshin. The Cult of the Possessed was certainly not Chaos, right? Or any, you couldn't point at warriors or demons and say that was that. Each of them had their own little compelling narrative. And I feel like what happened too much later on is the community just said, I like Dark Elves. I want Dark Elves to be in Mordheim. I'm going to make a Dark Elf warband. And it's just the Dark Elves directly brought in. And that's fine, except that's boring. Like, what would be interesting is if you had, like, and by the way, not everybody did this. You don't have to pick Dark Elves. There are good Dark Elf warbands out there, but I just literally grabbed them out of, my butt. What was cooler is when they had a story behind them, right? When there was some reason why this collection of people got together. So if your Dark Elf thing was like the Cult of Murder or something, right? And it was all like witch elves and hags or whatever, and all people who had come here specifically because there is no greater place in the world right now where more murder is happening than in Mordheim. People are just getting killed in the streets daily, and so it naturally attracts this cult obsessed with bloodshed. And, they have their own special rules just about putting people out of action and sacrificing people and, that kind of fun stuff. If that had been the thing, I would have been like, awesome, that's what I like. But it felt like Bretonia was just literally, hey, here's Bretonia. It's that Bretonian army where there's knights and peasants and stuff. You remember them. And they just transposed them in there.
Yeah.
And that's just not very compelling to me. What I ended up doing when I rewrote them was, remember what I said at the beginning of, the people who are in Mordheim have they need a reason to be there. Right? That city was a piece of crap. There were better places in the world to go make money or do things, but this was the bottom of the barrel. So the question was, why is this Bretonian knight here? Why is he in this place at this time? And so my answer was, because clearly he's a dispossessed knight. Right? He's lost his land. He's lost everything. And so you've got the knight, and then basically it's just all peasants down from there, of varying types, right? And he's come here to try to win enough fortune to, buy a new land. His peasants stayed attached to him because what the hell else are the peasants going to do? They're attached to a lord. If they leave him, they starve or get killed. So they just followed him into battle because that's what they've always done. And he's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, felt like a more cohesive narrative, I guess, than what was originally there in the Bretonian Warband. I don't know. Maybe that tracks, maybe it doesn't. That was just how I felt about the thing. If that makes any sense.
It does. That's going back to Lizardmen. That's what I liked about the original one, where they went to Lustria and they had all the really cool weather effects and stuff.
Yes.
How they did it with, okay, your leader's a skink priest and you can have one totem warrior and then it's going to be a bunch of skinks because it's the bottom of the barrel, right?
Right.
So you're not allowed to have more skink braves than you are Saurus braves, I believe is what they called them. But, I hate skinks with a passion that burns because 8th edition kind of ruined them for me. I liked using them, but I didn't like the fact that everybody used them to such excess that it just made me turn away from them completely. So I was like, I want a warband that's just source warriors, and they're just like, the Slan sent them there to, stop people from getting Weirdstone, because they're not going to sell it. What the fuck do they need money for, right?
Right.
So he sent them there. Like, that's the story behind, well, the first warband that I ever did for Lizardmen was they got sent there to stop everybody from getting the Weirdstone, and they were just like dumping it into the river when they were done. So
That's
like,
awesome.
they had the equipment that they started out with the whole way through until the warband ultimately got destroyed because they weren't getting upgraded. I wasn't buying more guys because I went totally down the line with the narrative behind them. It's like, if they lose a guy, he ain't coming back. We aren't getting a new one because the Slan's not sending any more troops.
Wow, he has committed this much resources to this, and that is it.
Yeah. So
Damn
I had
those
like,
frogs.
what we did is we just kind of altered the original, like, from Lustria one, where it was like, you don't have a Skink Priest, you're allowed to have your one Totem Warrior as a leader, and then you can have 5 Source Braves is what we decided on. So that's what my warband was. It was 6 guys, and that was it. They had their equipment that they started with throughout the campaign because they didn't use the money because they just dumped it in the river. The Weirdstone, everything, it all got thrown back into the canals so that no one else could use it.
Wow, you were playing like Iron Man Mordheim.
Yeah, it was hard.
I bet.
At the end, all I had left was my Totem Warrior, and he was like, had a peg leg and one eye and all that good stuff.
Nice. The one-eyed, one-legged, one-armed Totem
I
Warrior.
was really
Poor guy.
I don't have the model for it anymore, but I was really, really proud of it at the time. It's like probably complete shit to what I could do now, but it was like just a regular Source Warrior, but in the description for the Totem Warriors, it was like you were either an eagle or a jaguar or whatever. So I like sculpted this, like flattened out a bunch of green stuff and put it on his back and sculpted like fur lines in it, and then roped up a long line of green stuff and trailed that off the back. So we had like a jaguar pelt on his back, and that was forever ago.
Nice. Well,
I wish I still had that.
Slight aside, are you going to pick up a Knight Azeros or whatever and do a mold of that Phoenix? You know,
Yes,
the
I
little
am.
baby Phoenix?
Yes, I will do that for you, Vince.
You know, well, yes. First of all, absolutely. You tell me what I'm supposed to write the check for to supply your green stuff, okay, or whatever,
No.
for resin, and I'll just send that right along, and you just like when the Phoenixes roll in.
I'll tell you what. I'll buy the fig. I'll make the mold. If you can get your hands on a Saurus Old Blood from the Carnosaur kit on the on foot version,
Yeah,
I'll
like the
trade
actual
you,
guy on foot.
Yeah, I'll trade you the mold for that fig.
All right, I can do that. Piece of cake. All right, my friend, we've got a deal. Everyone here, the internet has heard it. Basically, the entire world knows about it now. So there we go. It's written down. It says thus is it written.
So I have to ask, Merrick, if you could make a warband, like you guys kind of talk about like starting a new warband and what menus you would use, but you're talking about like old school Mordheim.
Mm-hmm.
If you could make a warband of any type, of any race, of any stuff, what would you do?
Oh, Jesus. And Vince was giving me shit for a big question.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man. Any race.
Like what would and like I'm even welcoming like a concept.
A concept?
Yeah, like you could fashion a concept. So
I
for
would.
example, like with a narrative. So for example, do you want me to pitch you one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. A dwarven warband that are the remnants of a fallen hold. Okay. Where all of their warriors have so the hold was destroyed, and so all their warriors, including the king, have taken slayer oaths. And they've committed to escort the rest of the craftsmen to a new land, and so now they're trying to they're in the pursuit of this new land, and they're trudging through Mordheim to gain resources for that journey and that transition. So you have like slayers, and you have like they're supporting like a lot of common like craftsmen and like miners and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's big concept played out in like on the ground, tying a bunch of somewhat disparate ideas together.
Okay. I would go zombie infection, but I would change it from zombie to lycanthropy.
Okay.
So I would do a werewolf warband that consisted of like super low model count, but they'd have a special rule, kind of like the vampires do. When you kill like a hero or something, you gain a zombie. Well, you gain like something akin to like a dredge or something,
Sure.
but it's another werewolf.
Nice.
And their goal isn't to that warband would start out and just go to Mordheim because there's tons
Food.
of murder and food going on there. So, and plus, I mean, if you infect enough people, you can just take over the city and hold it, right? So, I mean,
Totally.
then you've got everything.
Nice. So what about you, Vince?
There you go.
If I could do anything, like just bring in anyone.
Sure.
I have no idea off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. I would need to think about time period. Like, when is this happening? Is this happening during Mordheim, during 8th, or during AOS? Because my answers would probably drastically change based on what time period this
Yes, assuming that you have a Mordheim that is connected to all points in history.
is. Okay, got it. Just all at once, yes. Cool. In which case, I will... all points in history, huh? Alright, I will bring in a warband led by Sigmar himself, back when he was like a tribal barbarian. And it's going to be him and all of his barbarian boys in his tribe, and they just roll in and give everybody the gift. They just start punching people, splitting skulls with hammers. They're all just a bunch of naked, bare-chested dudes running around, asking people if they even lift.
With clubs and daggers.
With clubs and daggers. Just tons of naked barbarians running around clubbing people.
I like it.
There you go. How's that grab you, Tom?
Yeah, I can see it.
Sure.
Have you heard the good news of Sigmar?
I got a question.
Exactly.
I got a question for you there,
Yeah.
Tom. Your polystyrene cobblestone in that?
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
It was... These are like 8 by 6, maybe? I'm going to end up spending about 20, or I think it was $30 per board, I think. I calculated it out.
Oh, dude,
Like, you mean per full, not per polystyrene thing, per 2 foot by 2 foot section.
Yeah, for that per 2 foot by 2 foot, I think I'm going to end up spending $30 on it. Yeah.
Okay. Like all total.
Yeah. No, I think it would be per 2 foot section. So, like, for a 4 foot section, it's going to be like $120.
Oh Christ. How much of it have you bought?
Not a lot. I'm just my sample stuff.
Have you looked at Hearst Arts molds?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the her starts, but the yes, I am. I'm very familiar with it. But my concern with her starts is that of casting that thin enough and even enough. Because are you suggesting I fill it with green stuff?
No, I'm like the way you're supposed to, like with the plaster.
Yeah, like dental plaster or whatever. Yeah, the problem is those 2-foot sections would be ultra heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's one thing that I am actually trying to avoid having very heavy boards. I really thought long and hard about not doing the metal, and the metal wouldn't work through the stone.
Yeah.
And so I thought long and hard about not doing the metal because of the weight the actual sheet metal is going to add to that to those boards. But I felt like the functionality of the magnetized buildings and terrain it's too good for the weight offset that I'm going to lose in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought about it, and I just realized that I'm getting my perfect customized Mordheim board that I'm going to end up spending less than a Realm of Battle board by a power of 2, maybe. I mean, It's still going to be less than half, and it's still going to be much better and customizable and magnetized and everything else. So I am okay with spending that kind of money.
Yeah. I'm going the her starts route.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with I have a lot of Dwarven Forge stuff, and so I'm very familiar with the her starts, the whole package there.
My what I'm doing is I'm not doing massive 2-foot by 2-foot squares though. Mine are only 8-inch, so that they're not going to be as super ridiculously heavy with the plaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really wrestled with it on doing the smaller panel section basically, which is kind of what that is, or tiles I guess would be more appropriate. I just setting them out, setting the board out. I just felt like it would be just a little bit too much. By the way, speaking of terrain, for those that might be interested, there is a Kickstarter going on right now called Dark Age Fort something, and it's
search for exactly that, Dark Age Fort something.
Yeah, I hate you, Vince. Hold on, I will pull it up so that people can see exactly what I'm talking about. I just got an update email from the Kickstarter. It probably has maybe 20 days left or so. And it's for $40 you can get this huge. It's Dark Age Outpost to be exact, by the way. Oh, the irony. And it's it looks like a very makeshift if you went out and gathered sticks and bound them together and stuck them in the ground, this is what you get. So it's a bunch of wooden palisades and stuff like that. It's not a highly it's the type of forts that you would find in Mordheim if people wanted to secure an area. For those interested. And
hello, Nick. Are you there?
I'm here. Hello, guys.
There you go. Your camera's
How's
not
it
on.
going,
We're just
man?
looking at your little mini picture.
Oh, my camera's not going?
Oh, there it is. Now we see you.
I just saw Mordheim, so I just had to listen in.
Absolutely, man. We had to bring on,
can you guys see that?
One of the biggest proponents of Mordheim around. I think you were the first person I saw putting up. No, we cannot see that. Putting up content. For some reason, when I zoom to your thing, it goes away. I don't know why. Talk real quick. See if it'll go to you.
How about now? Bueller.
Nope, just goes to black.
Bueller.
I can see it when it's the mini picture, but then it goes away. I don't know why. It just happens.
That's really funny. Curious.
So yeah, Nick, we've been talking Mordheim through because Tom and I are going through doing the Mordheim project for Age of Sigmar, and so we thought we'd spend some time and talk about what we loved about original Mordheim and why we decided to sit down and write a freaking 100-page rulebook or whatever for playing Mordheim with new rules and that kind of crap.
Is that what you guys are doing?
Yes.
Excellent.
That is correct. All warbands, everything, all there's like a bajillion.
So you're just
bajillion
applying the
warbands.
you're applying the Age of Sigmar like rules and such. Is that what you're doing?
Yes. So the basic concept is take the rules and the troops, as it were, of Age of Sigmar, right? Which is itself a small skirmish-based game with a lot of echoes to Mordheim, and add in the stuff that you need to actually then play Mordheim with this rule set. So, adding in the basic stuff for additional movement, climbing and hiding and that kind of garbage, adding in appropriate scenarios, warband advancement, warband selection, that kind of crap, right? Just building out all the basics.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you're familiar with the Age of Sigmar, you add a phase at the beginning of so they already have like a phase set up in their turns like system. You add a recovery phase at the beginning that functions like the standard Mordheim recovery phase. All the other phases of the game basically remain identical to Age of Sigmar. And then for your battle shock phase, that becomes your rallying, your morale phase. Like if you need to check, or your routing, exactly. If you need to check for any of the various things that might cause like the route tests and stuff like that. And it actually largely writes itself. So the division. I say that having written 100 and some pages of the book already.
Yeah.
So basically for warband creation, we took the divisions that are already there. There are hidden heroes. Let me stop.
You are doing a terrible job of explaining this.
I know.
Want you to know that.
Go ahead and explain.
You are not our marketing team. Holy God Almighty.
Shut up.
Use all the troops and the existing war scrolls that are in Age of Sigmar to build fun, compelling, thematic Mordheim warbands built around the sub-heroes. So if you take Skaven, you have Packmasters, right? Or whatever. And those guys, or your assassin, and those guys lead their little warbands of their relative troops in using the formation type scrolls, wherein they get little bennies and bonuses and have little special reasons for being. There you go. Probably the biggest difference in warband construction between what we're doing and AOS is that, between what we're doing and Mordheim, is that we allow monsters in. Like, you can have monsters, you can have that stuff.
Wow.
So, there you go.
That's pretty cool.
And your heroes actually generate your henchmen.
Yes. Exactly.
That's cool. So you're gonna have like dragons and shit too?
You can have dragons and shit. There's usually some kind of like additional cost for them, opportunity or otherwise, right? Like, that is to say, just having a dude on a dragon isn't worth like a clan rat, right? I mean, there is some kind of trade-off you're making there in almost all cases. But yes, you can have a dragon running around, and we have all sorts of fun ways to have that work.
The first thing that comes to mind is like the Battle of Osgiliath, where like everyone's hiding in and out of the buildings, and then just like ring rates like flying through, knocking shit over. That's pretty cool.
Yes, exactly, and that's and that is going to be part of the answer because monsters don't do well in buildings. You just nailed it right there, exactly.
Right.
So we have fun rules for like when monsters go in buildings, they knock the buildings down, and the buildings collapse on them and on other people inside there, and chaos and injury and hilarity ensue.
Okay. So the only thing from the previous Mordheim that you're using is essentially just the terrain concept. Everything else you guys are rewriting.
No.
The terrain, the scenarios, a lot of the old previous scenarios, and certainly the importance of them, and then all of the like campaign advancement. I am bleeding like crazy because I just stabbed the crap out of myself. All of the like, what's that?
And not
all of the
Well, all the statistics are different now, right?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like stat-wise, it's AOS stats, right? So it's a hit number, a two-wound number, and so on and so forth, right? But like the idea of the injury chart is a thing. You get knocked down, you get stunned, you go out of action, right? Critical hits, doing double damage. The way you advance and get skills and get stat ups and roll for weird stone afterward, and find garbage in the streets. All of that's still a thing. A different thing, but still a thing. Like, I wanted to be as true to the play experience of Mordheim as we possibly could. My goal was to absolutely maintain everything that I felt made Mordheim Mordheim.
It will feel like Mordheim when you play.
Right.
Like, surprisingly so, it will feel like Mordheim.
Yeah, I mean, you might be rolling a different number to hit. Like, you don't need to compare calculations. But other than that, it's the same actions, like hit, wound, critical hit, or injury roll, critical hits. People go down. You beat up people who are down. You roll or you roll your injury chart at the end, all that kind of crap.
Tom really can't be your marketing guy.
Shut up.
So it will feel surprisingly like Mordheim. It's like your intention is to make it feel like Mordheim, so don't require
you might think it would be garbage, but it's not.
I'm couching that at all the people who are like, what, you're running it on AOS Core? And the answer is, yeah, we actually are running it on AOS Core. It is fully Age of Sigmar, and it is fully Mordheim.
Well, because this is the thing where AOS would have, could have, should have, I don't know, been applied. Right? Like, this is exactly the type of thing you want a small-scale skirmish game for, with simpler rules, that kind of thing, right? This type of game. I don't think anybody's issue with AOS is I can't play Mordheim with it. Right? That's not the concern. This is exactly the type of game that most people probably think this should be relegated to, so whatever. Anyway, let's not talk too much about that for a moment, unless people are really curious, but I don't want to belabor that. Nick? I know you've been a fan of Mortheim for a long time, and you've got lots of great stuff and content on your channel, making buildings, making scenery, playing the campaign. So, what is it? Why do you love Mortheim so much? Why do you think it is such a damn good game?
You connect more to your models in the least creepiest way possible. I mean, when I throw down 50 clan rats, it's 50 clan rats, and that's the end of it. But when I throw this one guy down that's got the sword up in the air and the shield in his right hand and the parrot on his hat, that guy got character, and you develop with him, you get to attach to him, and games go from game to game. And, depending on what you put in is what you get out. I mean, if you play a regular campaign, that's fine. If you play a narrative, you're getting more out of it. But the fact that it goes from game to game and it develops is what pulls me in the most. And it kind of makes the game unfair sometimes. I know that you can get, extra points and experience if you're fighting someone that's just way better or has better equipment. But that makes it all the more interesting, because even if you are underhanded, a good position in the city or the scenario can really change it up. And it's different. It's different every damn time.
Yep.
And I mean, and also, I was a Lego kid growing up, so I would build shit all day long out of Legos. And when this game came along, I got to take real materials and make real model houses that are all blown up or pieces of terrain, and that too I enjoy a lot.
It absolutely is. If you're like a terrain guy, if you love making or playing with terrain, holy crap, right? I mean, it's the only other. I think it might be the best of it, because like games like Infinity use a lot of terrain. Like, you need a crap ton of terrain for Infinity, but I don't really enjoy sci-fi terrain building. Right? You're building like pipes or weird future techno things. They're kind of harder to build and weird. But like building like the mix of old style and ruins and all this sort of thing, right? It just has a much cooler sort of feel to it. Yep. Now everything I've ever built is total garbage, and intentionally so. I don't care at all. I just literally took cardboard and like took boxes and cut them down, okay, like in sort of corner angles, and then put in second floors with these sticks. Like, I would run these through the cardboard so it'd be solid, so you could actually stand models on it. And then I spray painted the whole thing with like, you can go to the like Lowe's and get that like concrete spray paint. It's like texture spray paint that looks like concrete. Just sprayed the whole thing down in that, and I was like, done. Haha, buildings.
There you go.
And it was fine. They were serviceable. We played like a 6-month game. I mean, they are not beautiful. They're garbage trained, but they worked. I had 5-6 level buildings, whatever, and it was fun. So yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I agree. It's I always wondered why they didn't push, in some way, the campaign aspect of regular Warhammer more, on occasion. Why was that never a thing they really pursued? It never made sense to me.
I don't know, because I'll tell you one thing. I enjoyed those a lot. The Warhammer campaigns, no matter what they were, if it was like Mighty Empires or the Borderland Princes or whatever it is, I've done a handful of different Warhammer campaigns with a bunch of different campaign rule sets, and they're all awesome, without a doubt. I mean, the biggest one I ever had was I think 6 players on a hex field that was 30 hexes by 30 hexes, so it was a ginormous battlefield, and it was just really, really, really cool. But a lot to orchestrate.
When I played in used a General's Compendium, if you remember that one. I think that was from maybe 2001 or 2.
Is that the Border Princes one?
Yes, I think so.
Because that didn't have a hex map. That had funky territories and stuff.
Yes, that sounds right.
Which was very cool in itself, because if you controlled a road territory, you were least likely to be attacked, but you also had the most control of the battlefield. And I really, really liked that system just as much as the hex system, because having one hex of mountain doesn't do anything, but if you hold the entire road segment, you're able to touch 15 different territories.
Right.
And move your armies really quickly.
Yes, I remember in that campaign, I was playing my Skaven, and I remember it started off, and I started next to Bretonnians, however we set up the map, the Bretonnians were sort of the nearest person to me, and I played this guy a lot, and I crushed him all the time. This was whatever, Bretonnians just rolled over to Skaven. They classically often have. And I said, look, man, just don't attack me. Go the other direction, and we'll never fight. I don't care. Player to player, I've smashed you into pieces the last 5 games we've played. Just don't do that. And the first thing he did is attack me, and I was like, all right, fine. I'm going to take every piece of territory on this map.
The only issue I have with that, the dwarves were a little broken, because that's when I only played dwarves, and I literally controlled the entire part of the map, because dwarves could move through mountains without an issue, where every other faction had to roll a 4+.
Oh yeah,
so
sure.
I was just pumping out armies, pumping out territories like it was nothing, and I ended up taking over most of the top half of the map. So it was a little imbalanced with the racial abilities, but
not cripplingly so. You were it's fine. It was still, you could still have a fun game. But
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean,
that sounds kind of like Mordheim itself right there, right? Yeah, we all knew there was some imbalances in there. Sure, certain warbands weren't quite good enough. Certain warbands, especially when you got into the community, were a little too good. But on the whole, who cared? It really didn't matter.
As long as you guys are all on the same page and want to have fun with it, I mean, that's it, really.
It's so true, and also just because the dice and the randomness was so strong in that game, right? You could have somebody who was 50, 100 points in rating behind just come back and smash face because they happened to get on a hot streak,
Right.
And so I thought that was, it really was one of the strengths of the design, for sure, to me, was that you never, I guess, how do I say this? It was, you might leave because you think things are going bad, but you never left because you were like, man, I am totally out of this. Right?
Right.
You could still, if you wanted to stay, you knew you could stay and take people with you.
Right.
which does have a sort of, shall we say, unique glee to it. When you're just murdering people, that's usually a good time. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't like that? I like it.
I don't know.
Party poopers who aren't any fun.
What are you guys doing about climbing and scaling walls?
Tom,
That was one of the things I struggled the most with Mordheim, where it's like certain races just couldn't climb, and some that could, just like Skaven. I understand they're rats; they can climb up walls and they're agile. But like when there were certain armies that had like initiative 2
or
like,
1.
Yeah, like lizard men. I get it; they're big and bulky, but like those guys should be able to climb up walls, like no big deal.
Yes, at least somewhat be able to climb rather than literally stand at a wall the whole game,
Right.
doing nothing.
I don't know what you're talking about. I played elves.
Sure.
So you made it up 90% of the time.
Yeah, actually, I
No, it was more than that, because of course you had like a rope and hook for 5 gold, so you made it up basically 100% of the time, right? You had to fail. You failed on double 6.
Yeah, I don't remember having any problems with wolves.
Yeah, for him it was like failing a 1-up rerollable armor save.
Well, I played dwarves during my early gaming years, so I could never climb a wall.
Right,
And
you
even if
looked
you
at
could
those
climb a
tall
wall-
buildings and you were like, I wonder what that's like.
Yeah.
Wonder what it
And the
looks
guys
like.
they're already not moving fast to begin with.
Yep. And God forbid any piece of terrain be in the way.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's fantastic.
Tom, explain climbing.
For in the new system or the old system?
And then he knows how to climb in the old system. He just walked you through it.
Hey, sorry.
Are you giving any attention?
No, I'm having these lag jumps, so I'm missing like portions of the conversation.
Oh my God, you are terrible.
And previously, you had me describing to viewers how things work in the old game,
Gotcha.
which is why like I thought that might be what you're talking about.
Keep up with the conversation, Tom, I swear. All right. Describe to him how we have resolved climbing. Because, Nick, let me say, I am acutely aware of that issue, and I actually called that out as something that really bothered me. I have to step over here for just a second. I'll be right back.
I remember part of climbing. That's not going to help with fence. I know that. So what we wanted to do was we wanted it so that climbing wasn't like a terrible, terrible experience, but at the same time, there's always a chance of failure. Like that was kind of that was the kind of thing that was the area that we wanted to steep in, and so I know that I don't remember the exact distances. I think that climbing is maybe half of your movement without a check, maybe full movement with a check. I don't know, but the check is basically on a 2-up, you succeed. On a 1, you fall, and so. So everybody has that chance of falling. Everybody gets to play in the climbing game, and when you fall, it's bad. I don't remember exactly. I mean, it might have been like a D6 mortal wounds or something. Now you got to remember, heroes are running around now with 5 wounds base. If they're the core hero, or if they're so one thing that Vince like you didn't mention is that like there are junior heroes baked in the Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
Like every like normal troop, their champion is a hero. Okay.
Okay.
So those heroes would have, in general, they gained 1 additional wound. So those heroes in general have like 2 to 3, and then the big heroes have 5 wounds each. But Vince, do you remember what the damage was on falling?
Depending on how high you fell from. So if you fall from under 6 inches, it's they're not mortal wounds or whatever. It's just D6 that wound on a 4-up or something. And if you fall from over 6 inches, it's like 2d6 mortal wounds or something ridiculous like that. Like it's just you're probably dead.
But it only happens sometimes. Like it's a fairly small, like it's a low occurrence, but it's impactful when it does happen.
Yes.
Okay.
My goal was and the reason I like that better is because if you make it so, here's the thing. If you make it so it happens almost all the time, right? To where like you can, even half the time, the natural response of most sane players is to respond to that incentive. right? And just not attempt it, right? They just won't do it unless they absolutely have to. They'll just skip it, and that's a shame. I want people to try to climb crap, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but that's one of the most fun things is having people jump all around on crap, right?
Right.
So I don't want to de-incentivize people by making the number too hard to achieve. Like, so this is very like it's a big thing in my game when in game design. You've got to have you want to set the incentive so that on any individual one, people think it seems like a good deal, but when you look at it in the aggregate, you realize that you will fail it if you keep trying, right? But they'll keep trying because every individual time you've got a pretty good chance of pulling it off. So yeah, that's the story of it right there.
I mean, that's good as long as you address the issue. Because like, I just never understood where it's like I have to spend one turn moving up to the wall, one turn trying to climb it, and if I successfully climb, then that's it. I'm at the top. Like, I just felt like it was such a roadblock in the game.
It was like the game is so fast and fun and loose, and then you quite literally hit a wall, right?
Right.
And you know, God forbid you fail that check because you're one of the slower races. You're just there forever. It's like, oh, good, this guy just gets to do nothing for a while. I feel like it was they sort of misappropriated initiative, right? It didn't. Initiative was never meant to represent that kind of thing, and that misappropriation made it so it just didn't really work properly, right?
Right. I mean, that's why I think kind of like with Age of Sigmar, since it's a lot of, you know, you do this on a 3, you do this on a 4, almost just making like certain units do climbing better on a certain roll.
Right. Yeah.
That's just
absolutely.
that's it. It's a climbing ability, and that's it. Like all humans climb on, you know, this or whatever.
Right.
And you know, if you want to go crazy, you can. You know, you get -1 to your roll if your armor saves 4 or better, or 3 or better, or you know, shit like that.
Right, exactly. There's a bunch of different ways you can go with it. Initially here, my goal with this is really to, like, you know, keep it fairly simple, right? And let that other stuff evolve. Right, exactly. Because there's already enough action on the war scrolls and stuff like that to remember. I mean, God knows, we've talked before about how, like, who has ever played a game of Warhammer where you probably didn't cheat at least once? Unintentionally, of course, right? Just like, you forgot a rule, you forgot a spell, you forgot a something. You know,
right?
And even because Warhammer, especially like, well, old and new, frankly, even Age of Sigmar, has a lot of the same complexities to it. You know, I was watching like Once Bitten's most recent battle report, and like he skipped one of his turns. Like he skipped like Bretonian turn 4 never happened. He just went like enemy turn, enemy turn, and he's like, I only realized it watching the battle report. That's a pretty big thing to miss. I don't blame him. I think he's perfectly, like, he's a brilliant ass player, one of the smartest I've ever met, and yet he can still make that mistake, right? I mean, that's just a testament to how much you're trying to remember while you're playing that game, you know.
True. Well, just as a reminder, I've never played a game of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Right? Well, maybe this will give you a chance to do it in a way that you find compelling, right? Because you'll be trying out some Mordheim, which you love. So there you go. Maybe that'll work for you. Because it's not like it would be hard for you to learn the rules.
Right. Age of Sigmar has been going strong though. You guys have been.
I've been playing a lot. Yeah, I've been playing it quite a bit. It's been. I would say it's been quite a bit of fun. I've really enjoyed it. In fact. Like, I mean, I don't want to proselytize. Like, if people want to play 9th or Kings of War or keep playing 8th or play Age of Sigmar, I don't really care. I don't have any horse in that race. If you're playing a game that you think is fun, cool, play it, talk about it, make battle reports, because I'll watch it all. Like, I still watch all the 8th edition battle reports that go up. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not really playing the game live because it's just I like the game. Give me just 1 second. There we go.
Sure.
Okay, so, but yeah, I've played it a bunch. I generally am able to get in like 1, 2 games a week. I mean, it's faster, and I really liked it. Fast. Yeah, you get to your units feel like your units to me. Like the things I like about it is it's got a lot of hidden complexity in how things work. Like tactics really pay very big dividends with if you actually know what if you actually sort of understand the intricacies of how things in your war scrolls can work and combine, and you can create those synergies. There's a little bit of like War Machine-esque nature to that, although it's certainly not as it's not as punishing as War Machine. You know what I mean? It's a little more loose. Like War Machine's a very punishing
Right.
game. You're off by like 2 millimeters, you lose the game, right? I mean, it's the classic story. Yeah, I've really really liked it, and it sort of a lot of the things I didn't even realize that I wasn't having as great of a time with. It's made me realize how much I do like, or how much those things irked me. Like, you know, the little things that I knew were kind of there and were kind of proud nails, like the fact that you could walk up right next to a monster and the monster couldn't attack you. You know, just silly things like that because of, you know, just traditional standard Arcosite stuff that
Right.
just isn't a thing anymore. And I'm like, I like that so much better because monsters are genuinely scary, right? I can't just go, like, one individual guy on foot could just play Ring Around the Rosie with a monster forever, right? And never be, like, you're literally standing next to a dragon and you're just like, or whatever, and you're just like, whatever, you'll never catch me. We'll just walk around each other all day.
Right.
Come on. I understand that's a silly thing. I understand it's not really, you know, it's not a critical thing, but something about it always bugged me, and I realized kind of how much it bugged me when I started playing AOS, where like monsters are all scary, man. Holy shit, monsters do some work. So yeah,
He
really
is
good.
zone of control.
Yes, yes, definitely, absolutely.
Well, that was one of the things from 7th edition. I don't know why they changed it to 8th, because it really put some value on certain units like monsters with 360, heroes with 360s, and skirmishing units with 360.
Right.
It's all about that zone of control on the battlefield, which you kind of lost in 8th edition.
Yep, absolutely. I think, and you know, it was the same in like 6th and stuff, and I was playing, like, I didn't play much through 7th. I probably got in, you know, like maybe a couple games a year tops, okay? Just because, I don't know why, I wasn't angry at the changeover or anything. It wasn't that. It wasn't like, oh, this is BS, I like 6th edition. Like, I don't even remember really registering. I think I just got busy with other stuff, right? Like job and work and life crap.
Right.
Which, you know, it happens every so often. But that was always the thing. Like, you know, in 6th edition it was the same thing. You had this 360-degree area of control, and man, monsters were piss all scary, right? Those weren't a thing to be trifled with. And in 8th, they were just such jokes because not only could they so easily get just ran around, you know, just you step to the side, whatever, but they also just dropped dead to like anything that looked at them funny, right? Which is a little less exciting. That's not great.
Right.
I wasn't a fan of that. So yeah, I mean, but I think overall it's been very positive. I have concerns about its like long-term viability, which was like the most recent video I put up, just because I am afraid that even though I think it's actually a quote-unquote better game from a design perspective, I don't think that will matter. Let me not say that. I think it's possible that might not matter.
Okay.
Like, one of the things I talk about in the video is that, like, the quality of a game's rules, the quality of anything does not determine the success of that thing. Okay? It's not just games. Like, Warhammer's been the king for a long time. Do we really all think Warhammer had the best rules? No. Nobody thinks that, right? That didn't matter, though. They were, like, good enough. What Warhammer had was, like, a huge amount of support and a big community and super sweet models and an awesome feel and tone to the world, right? And all this stuff. And all that came together to make a juggernaut. It was that sort of lightning in a bottle thing, right? The rules could, like, if anything, Games Workshop is right. They knew that, like, man, the rules don't matter that much. They matter a little. Like, they can't be crap. They've got to be functional. But beyond that, it's like, meh. Whatever. So like, and it's the same with like movies. Like, I don't think Transformers 4 was the best story, or Jurassic World was the best story, but those were big giant movies that made a lot of money.
Right.
So sometimes sweet robot dinosaurs. Sometimes dinosaurs, I guess, is really the take-home point of that sentence. Just dinosaurs are generally good. People like dinosaurs. That's the key. You want to sell some tickets. You get the butts in the seats. Get some dinosaurs. Listen to that, Age of Sigmar. I've got your secret for your next release. Dino Riders.
Dinosaurs.
Yes,
Jeez.
bring it back. I guess that means it should be a Lizardman release. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Very cool.
So we're progressing pretty well. We're like, I'd say we're pretty close. I don't want to set a date because it would just fail to get that. Anything else, Tom? Yeah, good addition.
What was the question? Sorry.
Where do you feel like we're at with the project? Do you feel pretty good about it right now? The sounds of silence. Yes, I feel pretty good about it right now.
Good.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I'm hoping in the next couple weeks, but we'll see.
That's cool.
We're down to scenario writing and formatting, basically, right?
Yes. Is your internet connection like bouncing off the moon right now? Like, what's going on with you?
I think my phone was doing a better job than my internet connection is right now. I just don't get it. I've literally closed like just about every application just in case there's anything on my end.
Well, you are on like a 72-year-old Mac. It was like the first Mac. It's like the one that the woman in the orange shorts was selling when she threw the sledgehammer.
You're are you guys using all the town criers, or pulling from them, or adapting them?
Yes and no. Like for the initial crop of warbands, we stuck to like the existing sort of divisions and armies, right? So like we took the existing armies and broke them into their narrative constructs. So like the Skaven, like I said, Skaven have a clan Pestilence and a clan Molder and that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. The Empire has like the Imperial Artillery Train of Nuln and whatever, that kind of thing. The Reichs, whatever, the Mounted Knights guys and stuff like that.
Right.
I like long term. I'd love to see more like mixed and thematic and differing warbands that appeal back to that stuff, right? Get back and fish for those really cool concepts that were in there, because I think there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Right. Now, besides gameplay and rules, do you guys have a reason why we're going back to Mordheim?
That's a good question.
There's got to be nothing left there.
All right. So that's a good question. Tom, would you like to tackle that? Is your internet better now? Could you explain
I don't know.
Mordheim?
Why Mordheim, like narratively, or why Mordheim?
Yes.
Okay. Narratively, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, as Vince said, I'm a terrible seller, so I probably should not be the one doing this. But the premise is that, so we all know that let's say it this way, Warpstone, Weirdstone, is solidified warp. And so when the end of the world came and the world was dissolved into the warp, there are portions of the world that did not dissolve, particularly those portions that were heavily laden with Weirdstone, because what was a change agent in the mortal realms, it was now a lodestone in the warp. And so Mordheim was one of these places that was preserved. And so now the remnants of the old world, of the artifacts of the old world, of the knowledge of the old world, are still in this, are still in the preserved remains of Mordheim. But even more than that, now that Mordheim is in the warp, it actually has created this situation where, because of the timelessness of the warp, any time can actually get to Mordheim. And so you have people washing onto Mordheim shores that are literally, proverbial shores, that are literally coming right out of the apocalypse. Who are, you know, clinging to the stabilized mass that is Mordheim, because as the whole world disintegrated and descended into madness around them. So you have people like a life raft clinging to this piece of land, where you have people jumping in through gates into the area from, you know, a millennia in the future from Age of Sigmar. Because time is not linear in the warp.
As they point out in that end times in that final page, right? Could have been a second, could have been 1,000 years. Doesn't really matter. Time doesn't mean anything in the warp.
And so it creates this interesting convalescence of ideas of convalescence. I'm tired. I'm sorry. This conglomeration of ideas all come together.
Nope, still probably wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah, shut up. Words are firing. It's been a long day. Yeah, so neat ideas. That's what I'll say.
There you go.
It's interesting.
Because, yeah, so what it allows is us to play with the lore. Because you can pull from anywhere. You can literally pull from anything. So the things from the old world still have a place here, as does Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
And you can use those cool new terrain pieces, those like warp doors or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. You mean?
Yes, those guys.
You mean that right there? Yeah.
Anyone could be coming in at any time.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because so previously in Mordheim, like restocking in Mordheim was a difficult thing because, you know, getting like supplies and all that crap was a big deal. Right? Like that was part of the thing, was like getting even basic gear could sometimes be problematic. Well, in this the way that we've set up even like recruiting new troops and all that stuff, it's playing on this idea that like getting restocked in Mordheim is an issue. Like you need to secure either the portals in and out to open up troops, or even finding troops in the remains of Mordheim itself. So it creates. So we're playing with some of those ideas. Yeah.
It also lets us play with like the
rolling for rarity
space in the city.
Right. So rolling for rarity for finding items is less about you scavenging the city. It's about what's the warp kicking out, or
exactly,
you know, what dead body came out of the warp that's armed with X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah, we're actually
that gives you a lot of liberties for scenarios too. Like as far as even using like named characters, like so and so just fell out of the warp, or you know the warp just spit up a greater demon, and then it's like a cooperative mission, shit like that.
And it's funny you mentioned that sort of a scenario. There may be a scenario like that in the book. You may be onto something there, sir.
Yes, and like we even played with this with so like recruiting new troops is like that's going to be one of the kind of different experiences for the new game, because it's going to involve rarity rolls. So recruitment itself is a rarity check.
That's cool.
And so captains will be able to more reliably recover troops of their type. So if you send out a White Lion Guardian, which is the hero to the White Lions, he can more reliably return White Lions than other troops. But each hero is going out doing recruiting, and they will give you options to return troops.
And you know, if you're trying to go find a Pahonix, right? That's not a super easy thing to go find. They're around. There are Pahonixes. There's just not a lot of them.
And for the rest of the people that don't speak Vince, that's a Phoenix.
I refuse to use their real name because I will show them no respect. Pahonixes aren't. They're terrible. I hate them. I always will.
They burn.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm going to dip out, but it's been a pleasure meeting back up with you guys. I'm happy to see Mordheim being a thing, so good luck with your project.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey, well, real quick before you go, whenever we, not whenever we launch, but sometime after we launch and start getting some feedback, I want to do an episode of Warhammer Weekly, like more or less completely focused on Mordheim and on the sort of new launch of the game or whatever. And
Sure.
I was thinking about having you on since you had, I knew one, you haven't been on for a while, and as the founder of the Feast, we've got to have you around every so often, and also too because you have a depth of knowledge on Warhammer, or on Mordheim.
Sure.
Sorry.
Mordheim.
Cool.
Yeah, you know how to get me.
Yeah.
You know how to find me. So
Absolutely.
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Sweet.
All right, guys. All right.
Coolio, bud. Yep. Take it easy, man.
Bye.
We lost Merrick. I don't know where he went.
I don't know either.
Maybe his internet connection dropped. I'm not sure.
Just like mine.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
do we have anything else we want to talk about?
I don't know. That's a lot of stuff.
It is.
We can not talk about Mordheim.
Well, we did kind of sell this as a Mordheim thing.
Sure. I also said we'd be talking about other stuff like Age of Sigmar and Kings of War or whatever. We got in our Kings of War Kickstarter.
Yep, it's true.
That was pretty cool. The South picked the South region picked Kings of War as their thing for all of their games.
What? Really?
Yep.
To replace the tournament scene?
Yep. Wow. So all of I'm trying to think of what all that affects, but it's like Bayou, Alamo. There's a big list. Anything that was a South region, big GT. All of the South captains got together and went for Kings of War. Although that was interesting.
That is interesting.
I've kind of got a video brewing on it and my thoughts on Kings of War. What are your thoughts on Kings of War? Do you have any?
It reads a lot like Age of Sigmar.
Wow, that's gonna hurt people's feelings. Don't say that. We'll get downvotes right away.
I know. No, I'm just saying from the set numbers, the hit on a 3+, wound on a 4+, all that's present. I don't know. I'm really mixed about it. I've thought a lot about it. I like what they did, the set unit numbers. I love that. I love the idea of these. You can
sort of just build your unit as a diorama, basically.
Yes, or these come in. Well, no, let me say this from a balancing standpoint. I love the idea that these come in 10, 20, and 40.
Right.
That's what it is. I actually don't like the diorama thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I like I like unit fillers. I have lots of unit fillers. But I don't like the I build my unit and this is what it is forever. There's something about I like removing models. I don't know.
Wow. Isn't that funny? You've got to be the only human being in the world who's ever expressed that sentiment. No, that's not true. I'm sure there's others. But yeah, I mean, certainly it's not the common point of view, right?
Right.
It is a thing that a lot of people hate.
It feels so, and what I mean by that is let me say it this way. I like the idea that I can reorganize the arrangement of my formations. As weird as that is.
You're saying if you're playing a blocked rank and file game, you want to be able to shift that stuff around and things like that.
Yeah, and I did. I remember there are a lot of games where I was set up one way and then, based on a variety of factors, I reformed into very significant different, setups. And it was me responding to the situation. And I could be wrong, but I don't think there's anything like that. When you take a block of 10, you are in a 5x2. There's no tinkering with that. I found value in tinkering with goblins with a 7 frontage, and stuff like that. Messing, hedging my bets, not knowing what I was facing, but also knowing the math of like, well, this is probably going to be optimal.
Sure.
And I valued that. And that's all kind of gone in King's War.
So Hooves of Doom asked a question about Mordheim real quick to go to the side to. So I just wanted to answer that. He said, "Are we largely leaving the War Scrolls themselves intact, or do you intend on supporting future releases?" Okay, so yes is the answer to the first question. Certainly, like yes, the War Scrolls are being largely left intact. There are some things that are just necessary to change based on the nature of the game, I guess, as it were. I think, Tom, would you say overall that's actually pretty minimal per thing? I think per, like many War Scrolls don't have changes, but like at an army level, some number do.
Let me take like Beastmen, for example. Beastmen, you're looking at a 30-page PDF. I think that there are 8 bullet points, like 8 ability changes over that 30-page PDF.
Right.
So
like things that just didn't work on a smaller scale.
Yeah, like or like so for example, when you like when this model, like this isn't necessarily Beastman, but like gyrocopter, perfect example. When the steam gun fires, roll X for each model in the unit targeted.
Right.
You're not shooting at units anymore. You're shooting at models. So how does that function in a skirmish-based game where you're not targeting units? Those kind of things. Do you just make that ability basically useless because every model is a unit of 1? Where verisimilitude would say that no, I mean it's an area spray. Typically, those were the purview of like template weapons. Do we go with something like that? And so, we generally try to do the path of least resistance, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but just rather the simplest, most intuitive way forward is the way that we tried to design when we had to tweak things like that.
Yes, I would say that is a very, very accurate way. The way I would put it. By the way, we're going to be going for, I don't know, maybe a little while here. So if anybody else who's watching wants to join, just send me an email, VincentRventurella at gmail.com, as usual. I think everybody probably knows my email by now. I've said it about 1 million times on the internet, but in case you don't, VincentRventurella at gmail.com. And feel free to send us an email and we'll get you in here.
On the whole, though, I would say that we're not, like, the goal is to not change War Scrolls and that everything will look familiar. Right. That we did not mess with values.
Right. No number changes. Yeah, like
no number changes.
Something was if something was a just poop stomper, well, it's still a poop stomper. That's what happens. Like, it's fine. War General T said he finished his, he said WE. I'm going to assume Wood Elves and not Witch Elves. You can tell me if I'm wrong, War General. And now he's on to his Wrath of Kings. Nice. Very nice. Did you keep any of your Wrath of Kings, Tom?
Nope. All of it went. No, I just, I had a bunch of Wrath of Kings. I supported that Kickstarter pretty significantly.
Right.
I have, as Vince has enjoyed pointing out, I have backlogs of miniatures that need to be painted.
Backlogs.
And I just realized the market, the secondary market for that stuff was hot. And so I liquidated all of it because I wanted to strike when the iron's hot.
Nice.
So
you'll have to tell us what War General T is going to be our guest on Warhammer Weekly this week, by the way.
Oh, wonderful. Look forward to talking to him.
Absolutely. So you'll have to tell us what you'll have to bring up on the show what, I don't know what they're called in there. Army, faction, crew? What does Wrath of Kings call them? Do they have a special name?
Faction.
Okay. You have to tell us what faction you're playing. I admit I don't know a lot about the game, but I love the aesthetics of that game.
Yeah. It's very unique. Hadross was the thing that really sucked me in. And I loved all of them, but the Technos, like little gnomes and pigs and all that, couldn't get into it. But the Hadross was fantastic. The Nazir was fantastic. I'm blanking on the Asian.
There was the Garistri or whatever, although I don't think that's the one you're talking about, right?
Those were the what did I say? The Nazir, yeah, the Garitzi, and then the Fael. No, not Fael. I don't know, the steampunk Asian warband.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, really cool models. They had a couple special edition ones at Gen Con that really tempted me because they were pretty sweet. But in the end, I was like, I went all in on Malifaux, and so I was like, all right, well, we've got to. I'd like to actually make a mortgage payment this month, so know when to hold them, know when to fold them, basically.
Certainly.
There comes a point. Yes. What are you working on, by the way? I don't think I ever asked you that question. What do you?
I am. Well, I just figured that I needed to do something, and so I've been base coating a bunch of my forest goblins, trying to finish up the spine like the spiny spider riders.
Gotcha. So are you close on having another unit done in your forest goblin army?
Yeah, I mean the spiders are mostly done at this point, so I'm just base coating, and then these guys they highlight up real quick. So once I wash them, like I'm minutes from being done, just because of how they're just small models, and I've done so many. That's the perk of the forest goblins, me using the riders for my infantry and for everything else. I know their little goblin bodies very well, so they just.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
You know their bodies.
Yeah. So they just painting each individual one, they go very quickly, and they're very small models. So.
Sure. All right, fair enough.
So making progress.
Very good. Continue on your progress making. I have switched over officially to the Gluisode. Since everything I have to do is airbrush work and I can't do that on camera, so there you go. That's fine. Always plenty of stuff to assemble. No issue there. That's gonna be a problem. So I'm just putting together more prosecutors, because why not? Why not more prosecutors? I'll repeat what I said earlier, by the way. I have 5 Lord Celestins on Dracoth. And I'm trying to figure out what to do with all of them. So if you out there have any ideas of conversions you would like to see me do, hey, feel free to share. Because why not? Any idea in the storm is good enough for me. I'm sure I'll find something for them eventually, but until
I have an idea for a Stormcast Eternal Army.
You do have a good idea. I'm trying to figure out how to use this chimney as a base for a prosecutor that you gave me. Thank you for the chimney, by the way. I need a roof. That's the problem. I need part of a roof.
You should have asked. I have some of those too.
It didn't really occur to me at that moment. You understand? Well, it's a weird thing. You don't normally sit around going, you know what I need? A roof. But now I need a roof, and I have no idea what to use for a roof. So, whatever. We'll have to come back to that. But what are you working on next after you get this unit done?
That's the real question. I am either so as part of this unit, I'm also doing my my big boss on Gigantic Spider. So
The big boss.
The big boss, exactly. So I'm technically doing 2 units, both the riders and a separate hero.
Yes.
And then after that, I don't know. I'm debating whether I want to dive into the Ragnarok, because I have numerous Arachnarok that are calling my name.
Okay.
Or I have a bunch of Phoenix Guard that I had started on. I've fully like base coated, I've washed, and I'm like moving on to the highlighting phase. And I have not like I took a break on those because originally I was going to work on my Forest Goblins again to get a board ready for the Games Workshop like battle board contest coming up, like the Armies on Parade.
Yep.
And then I decided that there's no way in hell that I'm going to get this done with everything I need to do in the next month. So I originally I was going to try to push through and get some Forest Goblins, all this done, but I don't know what I'm going to do next. Either I'll go back to those, or maybe I'll work on the Mordheim board because Mordheim.
Sure. So you just kind of were like, nope, not going to happen, and gave up, huh?
Yep. I just know that knowing what I have a thing I have a research thing I need to push out so that it's going to publication next month, and I have a lot of work to do that I need to get done. So,
Gotcha.
And unfortunately, that doesn't leave a lot of space for actual hobbying. So,
well, fair enough. See, I like my flying guys to be standing on like obscenely tall things, like ridiculously tall things.
Have I mentioned recently how much I hate that?
You have. Have I mentioned recently that I don't care?
Because this is the humorous thing, okay?
Yes.
Individually, it's like, sure, that dude is on a Bretonian pike, or oh yeah, that dude's on a chimney, or yeah, that guy's on a piece of a wall.
Yeah, sure.
But the problem is that when they're all next to each other, it just looks like a trash heap because they're all just standing on a bunch of random shit, and they're all within 1 inch of each other. So it literally looks like a building has collapsed, or some other thing has happened, and it's just a bunch of random things sticking out of the ground with a bunch of winged guys that are just perched on this random pile of junk. And so aesthetically, like, it just doesn't do it for me.
I think you need to have a better imagination. That's what I think. Because
apparently that's the problem here.
Yes. I think you're... Hey, John, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Hey, John.
I see no issue with... I'm looking at my prosecutors. I've got, like, 2 of them on walls. One's on, like, a Bretonian pike. One's on a different wall. One's on a big rocky outcropping. One's on a standard. One's on part of the temple. And another one's on kind of a rocky outcropping. Oh, and one of the guys on rocks is actually on fire as well. He's, like, standing on fire. Those are the guys that I put up today. Wait, did I put those guys up ever?
You sent them to me. I don't think you put them up.
I never actually shared those. I never put those in the PMP. I finished them before the Paintisode tonight. That's why I didn't have time to prime it all or whatever. And yeah, all right. Well, okay. So I will do that. I'll get those shared up at some point in time. Here you go. I'll just show them real quick because why not? We can do that. Here's what I finished. Do. There you go. Those guys.
Nice.
So let me ask, like, Vince,
Yeah.
explain to me, if you have like 10 of those dudes all standing on a random junk,
Yes.
like aesthetically, like that doesn't clash to you?
No. It looks great. Oops. See, okay, well, yeah, there's the old guys. There's the last ones. There you see, look, you got guy on a column, guy on some kind of fence door thing, and guy on rocks. Looks fine. And there's the other group. There you go. How handy that these are all next to each other, because they're all called prosecutors. I'm most proud of the one on the standard. The fact that actually holds up. That was a fun adventure in pinning. You can actually see the second post. I had to run up it to keep it stable, right there next to it.
I stand by what I said. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, you know what it reminds me of, actually?
Tell me, Tom.
You know what would look great in your army?
What's that?
The Prime. The Stormcast Eternal Prime, who's also standing on a pile of junk.
Well, I have my own Prime, as you know.
Yes, I do. But, like, my critique of Prime was the same critique that I have for you. Like, it looked just, again, like, yeah, let me just say this. I'll qualify this. I'm really the one to be talking about how bad Vince's models look. No, I recognize that this is just my own pet peeve that I've continually provided feedback to Vince about, which is I like the standing people on random things. I just have a problem with it aesthetically.
What's wrong with standing on random things?
He feels
you're
it's
living in an
clashy.
apocalyptic wasteland of random things are a thing.
That's a good point. That's right, Tom. Ha! I'm just Age of Sigma already. It's an apocalyptic wasteland. Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for, bud.
I can't get behind it. I don't know. Like,
look, I understand you don't have any imagination. It's fine. It's okay. We're all right with it, Tom. We understand. We forgive your lack of imagination.
somebody in the comments back me up, please.
Am I alone here? Am I living in Crazy Town?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
I wanted to be there for a while.
I tend to not have my my army or warband like traversing through junkyard.
Well, hey, the storm guards fight where they have
wasteland
to.
in a fantastic world is rocks, rubble, trees, skulls, empty temples and churches.
All within a 7 by 7 foot area.
Yes.
Hey, things blow up. Chaos happens, baby. That's what we call that's what the warp is. That's how this goes.
Now, I certainly recognize the irony of this, given the Mordheim focus that we have this evening, and the fact that actually fairly aptly describes what the terrain of Mordheim looks like.
Sure.
Well, look at Vince's terrain as a whole. All right. Look at his pieces as a whole. He's got a prosecutor that's standing on top of an actual cemetery gate. He has a small chapel. He has rubble and rocks. He has all these other pieces. He's going for a English countryside chapel / graveyard theme here.
Exactly.
Where clearly a Bretonian battalion fell, as is their standard, and also the stake from a group of archers.
Correct. It was a rough engagement. Many died. But then our great lord, Gilles Le Breton, raised them up. There you go.
Is it? I think it's Guy.
Is it supposed to be Guy?
It's French. It'd be Guy Le Breton.
That sounds believable. And so I should really know that, being that French was the language I took in college, and I can kind of speak it, but pronunciation was never my strong suit.
Well, my mother speaks fluent French, and I grew up with it. She speaks fluent French and Spanish, so I took French from her instead of Spanish.
Then I am sure you speak better French than me. That I can say with authority.
Un petit peu.
Well, Tom, Mr. Haterade, what I will say to you is that suck it. That's what I have to say. Ha! It's happening. The trash patrol is happening. John, why don't you describe what you're working on right now for a minute while I stand up for a second and go get something to drink?
I am currently working on your friend Malifaux crew.
Go into more detail. I need more time.
Not a problem. I posted some pictures of the initial section of his crew on the PMP, 5 models. He just got the remainder of his crew in the mail today. So now I'm going through the tedious process of assembling these stupid, small, little tiny figurines cast out of plastic. I heard they were small before, and the metal ones were fine. Metal ones are great. Assembling these little tiny bastards is looking to be problematic, considering my hands are the size of, small bowls or, large tea saucers. So this is a task of patience in my part.
I haven't actually seen any of the the new plastic Malifaux. Like, I've seen their old metal ones.
Yeah, those are cool. I will actually say, for metal figs, I liked those.
Yeah, I would agree. The models that I do have, like, I quite like them. But you're saying that you don't enjoy the plastic ones as much.
Considering this is the first one I'm assembling, and no. One figure, the figure I'm working on right now, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces for, what is it, 25 millimeter scale figurine. And literally, that is one piece. Right? The little gray spot between my fingers is one piece. You can't even see it. It's a hand with a small little holdout pistol inside of it. And giant, or really microscopic pain in the keister.
Sounds like you need tweezers.
I have tweezers. I will be using these tweezers, but at this juncture in time, it is not applicable because I have I have 3 pieces assembled.
You're speaking about the fact that Malifaux models are ridiculous to put together.
They deserve absolute ridicule. These things are absolutely ridiculous. Now, they are excellent sculpts. I will give them that, but
yes, certainly beautiful.
Most certainly. But they do have a certain level of what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah, they've never met like I happen to have one right here. So Miss Anthrope, she was like the special edition one. I picked like the simplest configuration for her, and this is still like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces, something like that.
Right.
Like the hair on the side of her head is a separate piece from her head.
Right. And I've got the same exact thing going on. The hair on this chick that I'm assembling is a separate piece from the face. The face drops into the top of the torso, and I'm half afraid that if I get that alignment wrong, the hair is going to look all wonky.
Yep. I mean, like you said, absolutely some beautiful sculpts. No disagreement. I don't think anybody could ever say that Malifaux doesn't make some beautiful models, because they do. But come on, like,
and then
still Pete's, guys.
The simple fact of trying to remove mold lines from some of these.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to remove a mold line. I'm going to rip off half of the detail while I'm at it.
Right. They are definitely not a model for the faint of heart. Yes, agreed. That being said, I guess the upside, as it were, is that there's really not that, at least you don't have to do it much and you're done, right? It's
right. 15 max if you want to go with 2 crews.
Sure. So, that's good. Got that going for you. That's nice.
Yeah. So, and I will have to say that this Malifaux crew is my first venture into the female form. Which is
because you've been painting like Skaven and things like that a lot.
Skaven and dwarves. There are no females in those conglomerations at all.
Right.
A Skaven female, I don't think anyone has actually laid eyes on one. And dwarves, there's I think I actually have the one dwarven female in my dwarf collection someplace.
Yeah, they did make one.
Yeah, one. It was part of some kind of bonus something or other.
Yes, I went on a big rant on this earlier. I'm not sure if you were watching yet at that point or not, but again,
I do not believe so.
No, it's fine. I went on a why can't we get some freaking female minis rant. I won't do it all again, but yes, let's get some freaking female minis.
Or should I say still? This is an ongoing theme with your life, I think.
It is, yes. You know, I was with, when I was at Gen Con, and here's the thing, like, I don't want people to think I'm like some creepster or something. Okay, that's not what it is. A little bit, but not primarily.
Okay.
Like, I was when I was at Gen Con, I took a painting class with Marie Grimer, who's, you know, I don't know. I doubt she would say this, but she simply is one of the best mini painters in the world. Okay.
Is that the one lady who's kind of older and has kind of like a Eastern European accent?
No.
No? Okay. I've watched an older lady on YouTube, and she's got like this, hello, do-do-do. And
yes. I know who you're
can't
talking
listen
about
to her voice for more than 3 minutes. It's like, okay, get to the details of what you're doing. Your voice annoys me.
Sure. Yes, I know who you're talking about. That's girl painting, isn't it?
Something like that, I think.
So no, Marie Grimer. If you want to check her out, just for people watching, it's destroyerminis.com. That's her that's her website and where her stuff is at. And it's amazing. She wins a lot of competition. She won overall at Gen Con.
She's the house painter for Dark Sword?
She's one of the house painters for Dark Sword, yeah, exactly. They have several house painters, not just one, but yes. And her work is absolutely just exceptional beyond reason. Again, she was super humble, and I'm sure she wouldn't call herself that, but that's garbage. She's one of the best in the world.
He did a Cersei with a transparent dress, like the Dark Sword Cersei miniature with like the transparent sheer dress, and it's just bonkers. Like it's good.
It's amazing. So anyway, I'm not like the point of the story wasn't to say, look who I got to hang out with or something, like whatever.
You're not name dropping.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not doing that. She doesn't know me from Adam, I'm sure. The point of the story was to say part of that when she was painting and talking about minis that she had painted and kind of showing examples that had the skill that she wanted to teach us that day, which was a freehand class. She talked about a couple dudes that she had painted, and she was like, I don't know, all in all, I hate painting male figures. They're so boring. They're just boxies, and they're they're just boxy people, and they're not interesting. She's like, I like to paint
curves.
I like to paint sexy chicks. It's more fun. And yeah, I mean, there you go. That's so that's I get what she's saying. It just is. They're more interesting.
I will have to say that painting curves on a female form is a unique challenge.
Yes, from a lighting perspective,
Exactly.
from an interesting of the form, they tend to have more hair, right? So you get to play with that and the coloration on that and experiment with that. Their curves tend to be much more interesting for highlighting and shading. I don't mean that in a gross way. I just mean that in like it's legitimately more of an interesting miniature aesthetically to the eye.
Yes, from a technical perspective.
Yes. But anyway, so yeah, I think of it. I try not to think of it too often because it only makes me angry. But every so often, I remember that like a stupid year from now, Tom, when is that Kickstarter coming in?
I don't want to talk about it. I mean, it's supposed to be March of next year, probably. We'll see if that actually happens.
So I might only have 6 months.
Hypothetically, yes.
I don't know. I don't believe it.
In their last update, they showed the first mold being created, and that was the last couple weeks.
Right. I do remember that.
So, hypothetically, soon.
Yes, and then just that toughest girls in the galaxy 2 thing, which I have talked about before.
Yeah, those minis are just bonkers. Like, I'm gonna have an entire Sisters of Sigmar army and probably an entire female Dark Elf army.
Yeah. They are gorgeous, and I'm sure that I will spend like way too much money on them. They are my next they're my next Britannia, my next great white whale. You know, the sort of thing that I chase down to try to paint or whatever, and spend just lavish time on.
Which reminds me, I need to do a quick hobby video in response to your...
Yeah, you do.
Because, what's this? March, April, June, July, August. Yeah, August was 6 months for me
Nice.
for
That's
painting.
awesome.
And I was going to go from, this is the first figure I've painted, to this is what I've done recently.
Right.
This is the progress that I made in 6 months of painting.
Nice.
That's awesome. I thought Victor did a similar thing, and his was really cool. Like, it was, I loved it. I don't know if you watched Victor's response, but
Not yet.
it's worth a watch. And because what I love is he shows some of the first. He's been painting since like the 90s, okay?
Right.
And he shows some of the first models he painted back in the 90s. And what I love about them is they are fantastically good paint jobs for the time, painted in exactly the style that things were painted in then. And now you look at it, and it's just like, it looks insane. Right? It just looks like a crazy person painted it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, wow, that's interesting stylization.
Right, because it's all bright and multicolored and stuff like that, right? Now,
Right.
Victor did, like, if you went back and looked at the painting guide that he was following, he nailed it. It is dead on. It is, like, exactly the 90s. And it's funny to watch his progression or whatever. And it is one of those things where, like, the old painting guides were literally like, paint, shade, complete. Yeah, you're done. That was like a painting guide out of the 90s in White Dwarf and stuff. I'm like, boy, thanks for that. Now I understand the old 3-step White Dwarf painting process from the late 90s.
And that's one thing I can say I've taken, or I've probably even missed out on, is that I've taken the advice of other people who paint over the course of years,
Right.
but I've only taken it as advice. Okay, that's advice. That's what you did. That's your style. That's great. I don't have access to those colors, nor do I wish to have access to those colors. I could go out and buy a whole bunch of colors, but I could rather mix my own, blend. I could play with the colors and do things. And I do have some artistic background. You know, I did
Sure.
do really well in art class in school, and you know, I did art camp and stuff during the summer when I was a kid growing up and whatnot.
Nerd. No, you're fine.
Hey, I didn't have much choice. My mom was like, "Here you go, art class. What? I don't want to come here. Too bad. I'm leaving." So, I do have some artistic background, but this as an art medium or media is by far the favorite that I've used through my course of life. And so I don't necessarily have to stick to one guide of this is how it's supposed to look. Well, screw you. No, it doesn't. I have different
Right.
colors. I'm going to make this different.
Yep.
You know, like my crazy dwarf with the magenta and blue robe. That was just a, you know, let's just play with colors today. And yes, it grabs your eyeballs and gives them little twists, so now you're looking at the hem of a skirt all the time. It's like, oh, shiny silver. What's that fucking bright pink doing there?
Right. Yes, I mean, what I'll say is that when I look at like a lot of some of the older things I have, like my old Empire War Wagon, it looks like absolute garbage, but it looks much like the front of the package because it was this yellow, red, black, and silver monstrosity, and I painted it like I looked at the front of the box and I made that be the thing it looked like, and I look at that now and I'm like, how was this ever a thing? Right? How did we all look at that and go, yeah, this seems appropriate?
And that's another thing is I look at the packaging for some of these things and I'm like, no, that's not how that is supposed to look. That is god awful.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty now of having all these videos and the internet and stuff like that, right? I mean, you can, if you want to learn, if you are willing to learn, you will learn, right? That is simply like the only, it's you who, you decide your level of involvement in Project Hobby Time. That is the truth now. Because there's just too much good information out there. And there's so many people doing great videos on the internet right now. This is not one of them. You're going to learn nothing from this. I've been thinking about doing a hobby series, but I was kind of testing out my camera and recording some stuff earlier today for a few minutes, because I've been thinking about doing a hobby series. I don't really like to, I don't know how I teach people to paint. Like, that is to say, I don't know what I'm going to teach you as far as here's how to paint this model. I know that's what I don't want to do, like here's how to do a prosecutor or something, because
Yeah, there's loads of that out there.
I think what I'm going to do, like what I've been contemplating, I'm not sure if people would find this interesting or not, but I think it's probably the thing that I would be the best served to do, is I want to do a video series called Cheating with Vince, wherein I teach you like the cheats or other things that I do to sort of shortcut things and to, you know, get more complex jobs done quickly, like the easy, simple methods to sort of up your game, as it were. Because there's a lot of stuff that's, you know, if you really want to do like super display quality work, there's one way to do it. Do it.
Right.
Put in
Do
the
it.
time.
Grind it
Right?
out.
Yes. But just a step down from that, right, is some pretty darn good-looking stuff that you can achieve pretty fast and with, you know, comparatively minimal effort if you just know what you're aiming at and what you're doing. And so I thought maybe I'd do a video series on that, because the hobby stuff's fun, and there's always, who doesn't want more hobby stuff? People love hobby stuff. I love hobby stuff. I know I watch the shit out of hobby videos, so hopefully other people would too, and learn from them.
Yeah, there it is. That's what it looks like.
Oh yeah, no instructions either in a lot of other companies' minis. I like that. Like, I forgot how addicted to GW's like step-by-step instructions I had gotten in a lot of cases when I started buying like other brands' minis, and I was like, oh, this is just sprues in a box. Got it. And like, I know that's lazy, and you can figure it out, but whatever. I like that they include instructions. What can I say?
Some boxes.
Yes. You're saying some GW boxes?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say most, right? I mean, any of the newer stuff, probably.
Yeah, the older stuff didn't have instructions. They had them on the side of the box.
Oh, yeah, that's right, sure.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I have a couple old boxes, or an old battalion box or two, and it's just, oh, here's a box of sprues. Where's the instructions at? There's no instructions. Oh, wait, there's pictures, maybe.
Yes. Sure. That's fair.
So,
Is this thing too big for a 40 mil base? The
No.
answer is probably, but the answer is also probably I don't care. It's the base to the Black Dragon. Probably a bit too big for a 40 mil base. But guess what, Tom? It's going on. It's going to be the base for a prosecutor. Take that. It's happening. That's how I think. That's how I roll, Tom.
I have no response to that.
That I'm going to cut up the base for a Black Dragon and make it the base for a single prosecutor. A single, not even that important prosecutor. Just some guy. Just some guy.
Prosecutor Steve.
Exactly. Could be Steve, could be Tony, could be Bob, you don't know. He might not even know.
Prosecutor Bill. Hey, Bill. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to go march over there and get slaughtered by that giant thing. Okay. I got a cool base, though.
Exactly. I'm going to bring my sweet rock with me.
My wife gave me this one.
Exactly. All the best rocks.
Like the joke of, you know, you're an adventurer and you make your way to a dragon's hoard and you open its golden chest and all you find is a macaroni noodle picture from its kid. And you hear the dragon bellow from the distance, "It's treasure to me!"
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's dark if you didn't kill the dragon.
Oh, yeah. No, you let that bastard live.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could kill the dragon at that point. I might feel too bad about it.
No, it deserves to
If
live
he's
in
got a
forever misery.
little kid, I don't know.
I could kill the dragon.
Touched your brother's heart.
That's because you're a cold-hearted bastard, Tom.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So let's change some topic here.
Okay, I was going to actually just initiate a quick little topic change.
Go ahead.
3 different guys from different channels, you know, different places in life, all stemming from the same geographic region from, you know, adolescence. That's kind of weird in my opinion.
Oh, you're talking about like this current Paintisode?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, whatever. Things happen, you know. The world is a crazy place,
The
right?
world is a crazy place, but I just find it interesting that the three of us individually never actually commiserated much, at least I didn't, with you gentlemen.
Sure.
And now here we are in adulthood and living completely disparate lives have now come together for some mutual something or other.
Actually, that doesn't apply very well to Vince and I. I've known.
Yes, I know. You guys probably know each other from, school or something.
Didn't go to school with him, but I knew him from when he was just a young pup, a young lad. Absolutely. He was
From high school.
he was like 14, but he looked like 11.
Wow.
Tall 11-year-old. But, you know, Tom's always had a baby face.
True.
No, here's what I was going to talk about. I was going to move to something completely unrelated to miniatures. We can come back to miniatures in a little while. But let's totally change topic here. All right. New topic. The new topic is, let's talk about Star Wars. All right.
I have minimal knowledge on the Star Wars front.
That's fine. Have you seen the trailer for the new movie?
Only in bits and pieces of even the trailer.
Wow. So let's unpack that a little. So what's up with that? What Star Wars movies have you seen? Let's start there.
4, 5, and 6, and
All
1,
right.
2, 1 and 2 as well.
So you got through the second one. You're like, I'm 5 movies into this.
It
I'm
sounds.
pretty sure the third one's garbage. I'm just gonna
pretty
skip
much.
it.
I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's just like, you know what? If they throw that stupid talking fish man with the floppy rabbit ears at me again, I'm going to shoot something. So for the sake of everyone in general and my own sanity, I declined on that one.
I think you made a wise choice.
As do I.
Well, I would say you're certainly not missing anything. I mean, I know that for sure. But that is interesting. I think there's definitely some sunk cost fallacy for me. I was like, nope, I am however many movies into this, I'm going to finish it out. God damn it, that's it. I'm doing the rest. I didn't come to stop here.
Now, I have no
Go all the
problem
way.
with 7, 8, and 9 as long as the acting quality picks up some. Because I am, or at least I used to be, a fairly large movie nerd. I'm a big Kubrick fan, even though I haven't seen all of his work.
All
But,
right.
some of the more dark lines of movies I do tend to enjoy.
Sure. I as well am an amateur film buff, so I'm with that. Absolutely. Now, is Tom? What about you? You're pretty excited for the new Star Wars, right?
Yes. I'm in.
All right. Do you have concerns it's going to be garbage?
Oh, of course.
Okay. How likely do you think it is that it's going to be garbage?
Define garbage.
Give me a percentage. A bad movie. That you will walk out of it going, that was not a good movie.
Oh, I mean, I think that there's maybe like a 10% chance that that's going to happen.
Okay.
Because we've talked about this before. I trust that J.J. Abrams will pitch down the middle.
Right.
So, like, I trust that. I don't think that he'll make a bad movie because I think that, again, I think he would rather play it safe than make a bad movie, than make Fantastic Four.
Sure. Which was admittedly just god-awful.
I went to see that at a cheap theater once, and the movie actually died 5 minutes in, and I never went to go back and watch it again.
Well, I'm specifically speaking about the new one, but your point stands. We could have been talking about any of the Fantastic Four movies, up to and including the 1994 Roger Corman version.
This was the more recent one. This was not 1994. This was... I had children at the time, I think.
Gotcha. So this is like the Jessica Alba
I believe so, yes.
Michael,
The
whatever his name is.
when Captain America was the
Yes,
human.
when Captain America was the Human Torch. Yes.
That sounds about the right time frame.
Yes. Rock on. Yeah, garbage movie, sure. But you know what's funny is that like looking back at it after watching the new Fantastic Four, I was like, that wasn't that bad. That's what that Fantastic. That's how bad that new one is. It made me like the Jessica Alba one more. I'm like, oh man, at least they got some stuff right. Yeah, I think that I'm pretty excited for the new Star Wars. It's not that far away now, you know. It's coming up. And I think that BB-8 droid is like the coolest toy that anybody's ever made ever.
Yeah.
Is that magnetic on that thing?
It must have.
That toy works by magic, and I will hear no other anything to the contrary. That's how it works.
I watched a Facebook video of kittens chasing that thing around.
Oh, that's gonna happen, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
got to be happening like en masse.
And that is actually, I was like, wow, that's really cool. That head's moving around on top of it. And then I saw the head knocked off. It's like, whoa, that thing's still moving with a broken part. That must be magnets or levitation or Mormons or something.
Right. I mean, magnets. How do they work? But yes, I believe it is like a little internal gyroscoping magnet or something, because it can fall off on the toy, but it doesn't just come off very easily. It seemed like it was on there pretty solid.
It's so amazing. Like I stood there with I was watching the video. Like I was in a store at the Water Tower, Chicago, like when it released that weekend, with my wife, and I was like, "This is the most amazing thing ever."
We live in an age of wonder.
I was like, and she just looked at me and she's like, what does it do? And I was like,
it does that. That is what it does.
yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, what kind of question is this? Imagine a Roomba that's actually a droid.
Yeah. What does it do? It makes all of my dreams come true. That's what it does.
Yes, and she just didn't understand. Like, she couldn't get it in her brain what the deal was. Like, man, it just killed me. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Look, as I like, does he have a speaker in him? Can he make noise?
I have no idea, but that would be amazing.
I hope that he can. If they really wanted to knock him up to the next level, so I don't know if either of you watched Parks and Rec, but one of my favorite little references in there is at one point Aziz Ansari's character has mounted his iPod dock or whatever, his iPhone dock, to the top of his Roomba, okay? And so he puts his iPod on top of the Roomba, and then it drives around in his DJ Roomba. And if I could do the same thing where like there was a way that I could actually have music playing through his speaker, and DJ BB-8 could like roll around and turn up the house party. I mean, that's like the greatest little DJ ever. I would that you'd sell 1 million of these things. You're already gonna sell, but that would be sweet. So there you go, DJ BB-8, make it happen, George.
Make it Bluetooth compatible.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it definitely is. Like, there's an app that you download for it that you can control him. So, like, you can. He's just like
He's already Bluetooth compatible or wireless compatible in some format.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got to be broadcasting somehow.
So if there is some kind of, and I guarantee you that if it's not already implemented, someone's going to hack that thing and put it in. There's got to be space for some kind of speaker system inside of it.
Absolutely. All right, Internet, make it happen. Amaze me. War General T says that he's that yes, it's magnetic, and that he totally wants him a BB-8 too, and also that he's been playing some X-Wing lately and really enjoying it. It's awesome. He might even be leaning to it as his primary game.
Who is the maker for X-Wing?
Fantasy Flight, I want to say. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it's Fantasy Flight.
I have no idea.
That's fascinating to me because didn't Hasbro have the rights to that, or did they give that up?
I really have no idea. I could be totally in left field with that.
No, I think you're right. I think Fantasy Flight does. It's fascinating to me that I thought that Hasbro had the rights to all the Star Wars stuff. But but that may have reverted a year or two ago when the licensing with Disney and all that stuff.
Well, entirely possible.
Somebody else may have paid an exorbitant sum to access those as well.
Yeah, I mean, the rights could be divvied up in all sorts of weird ways, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, when the miniature game's coming. Like, that seems like that would be down the line, wouldn't it?
The miniature game for what?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
For beyond X-Wing, you mean? Because I mean, X-Wing is certainly a miniatures game.
Yeah, X-Wing certainly is, and so like that's the
Are you saying like actual stormtroopers and stuff, that kind of thing?
Like yes, because that was a thing, and that was like Hasbro Wizards of the Coast.
Sure. Yeah. They had the flip-based game. Remember that year at Gen Con? Were you there that year at Gen Con when they had that amazing recreation of the Battle of Hoth?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, dude, it was so amazing. They had a full-size Battle of Hoth. Okay? Like, it was like a 20-foot long table, and on one end was like the Rebels setup, and then they had the AT-ATs and the AT-STs walking in from the other side. It was redonk. It was amazing. And I think it was like a 20-player game of that, side on side. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
Yeah. So you're saying, well, I mean, they've got two different levels, right? Obviously, of the X-wing miniature game, because they've got like the Armada. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and maybe there's not a market for it. Maybe Hobbit showed us that there's not a market for miniature games, for the foot soldier stuff.
Could be. I don't really know. I suppose that's possible.
Yeah, I can see there not being a market unless it's like Star Wars Hero Hammer.
Yeah, like skirmish. Like, I mean, that's what Hasbro had done, which was like the skirmish, Hero Hammer style.
It's always tough to tell what's going to land with a property and what's not, right? Like, look at the ill-fated Star Wars CCG, which I still have my original.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have like a couple long boxes full of. I have the entire like Rebel cast, like all the heroes.
Sure, absolutely. I still have a complete original set of the first one or whatever that was called.
A New Hope.
A New Hope set. I think that's probably what's called A New Hope. But yes, I still have that full set. I'm not saying that to be proud of that. That's worth like 8 cents right now. Woohoo! But you know, I own it, so there you go. Yeah. I mean, that came out. It was like all the rage for like 8 seconds, and then everybody was like, "Oh wait, this game actually isn't very good and doesn't play very well." And also, Magic the Gathering is out, and it's a much better game. So let's just keep playing that.
So true.
Right.
I mean, like Magic, the CCG boom was so insane.
I remember.
It's just impossible to overstate the impact that Magic had on the gaming market. It's crazy. It's just beyond crazy.
Okay, CCG would be collector's card game?
Yeah, collectible card game, yes.
Okay, because I don't play those kinds of games. My son likes Pokemon.
Sure.
But
one of the few to actually stand apart from Magic and have like such a huge success. A couple others have been minorly successful at various points, but Pokemon has been a huge property that has made, for like as a card game, that has made a crap ton of money. Ironically, I think the other two highest are probably I don't know this for sure. I haven't seen like market reports or anything, but I think the other two at various points were, you know, Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Right. I can see Yu-Gi-Oh being such, and Digimon probably being a close third or something like that. Now, I have played Yu-Gi-Oh once, and I was not impressed. I was like, oh, well, okay. But that was years ago.
Yeah, I think that all collapsed. I really do. I think Yu-Gi-Oh just like imploded in on itself. I don't know why. I have no idea what the story behind that is.
I think probably because the TV show was done.
Oh, that'll do it.
Right, and I think that's why Pokemon is had so much staying power, is because they just keep coming out with new iterations of it.
Yes,
But
because it is the forever content. It
yeah,
will
it's
never go away.
a timeless TV show.
They will, in fact, never catch them all. They have tricked us all.
Not all of us.
Sure.
Well, I will stand by Tom's assertion because I couldn't care less.
No, I mean, I think Pokemon, it was, first of all, it wasn't a thing. It just wasn't a thing at all to anybody. I don't know if it's maybe I missed it by a year in age or what, but like I have no care or love or interest in Pokemon. It's never landed to me. So, I mean, I have no ill judgment on it. It's perfectly fine if you enjoy Pokemon. Cool.
Right.
Again, that's sweet. But it's
And
just it just has a bunch of nostalgia for people, and it has none of that for me.
Yeah, exactly. I have no fondness for the old Game Boy games. I have no fondness for the cartoon. I have no fondness for the cards.
Yeah. I must admit, I just don't get it. Like, so there are these things that I look at that other people find good, but something little gets in my brain and screws with my perception of it, and I just can't leave it alone, and it bothers my ability to enjoy it. This came up because I was actually hanging out with Tom over the weekend, and I believe he put on like Toy Story 3 or something for his kids, and I was like, I hate this movie. I hate's the wrong word. I don't get this movie, and hence it bothers me. Everybody loves Toy Story, and I'm sure Toy Story 3 is actually a good movie. By all accounts, it's an amazing
Is that the
movie.
one with the crazy teddy bear that's,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You watch enough of those things, they all kind of blur together when you have children.
Sure, I'm sure. So, I have nothing but respect for Pixar and blah, 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 blah.
Yes, their animation quality and storytelling are very, very excellent.
Yes. But I look at that, and I'm like, I don't get this world. How does any of this work? These toys...
You're looking at it from a technical aspect.
Yes, I'm like, these toys would get found out in 8 seconds. There is no way that people would not know these toys just talk. Like, it would happen immediately. And somebody would record it on their iPhone or whatever, leave one of those security things would get left in the room.
How about baby monitors?
Yeah, sure, anything. Yeah, a baby monitor that's not, that's not a sentient toy. Like,
But the toys have control over the baby monitor.
I guess. It's just, the whole world just doesn't work for me. It does not make sense. Do not try to explain it in the comments. It doesn't make sense. It's
Now, there
not
is
a
a gentleman out there, I don't remember his name, who's actually gone through and taken the entire Pixar series and made a giant overarching storyline through all of it.
Yes, and all the Pixar movies are in the same world thing.
Yes.
It's probably pseudo fine and true. I look at a movie like, and here's the funny thing. So I look at a movie like Cars, which on the surface, because as we all know, Pixar movies are just thing
They're
X
fantasy.
feelings, right? Like Cars have feelings, toys have feelings,
Yes.
Inside Out is feelings have feelings. And so I look at that movie, and I'm like, that movie works. You might say to yourself, but Vince, that's insane. Yes, War General T says Fantasy Flight Games has X-Wing system rights. Hasbro has the toy rights. There you go. Okay, so that's how that's split up. Cool. Thank you, War General. So I look at that movie, and I'm like, this makes perfect sense to me, because Cars is a horrible post-apocalyptic future. Like a dystopian future. And I can
with
prove
Dane
this
Cook as the protagonist, I can buy that.
What's that?
With Dane Cook as the protagonist, I buy that.
Sure.
Oh, that's planes.
Planes, but it's okay. Close enough.
Well,
It's all
okay,
the same
yeah,
universe.
Same, whatever.
Sure. It's Owen Wilson,
Again.
so it's not like we're that much better. You're
Again,
fine either way.
Children's stories bleeding together.
Again, perfectly okay. All right. Why is Cars a post-apocalyptic future? Well, first of all, of course it is. Because the cars are just cars. They're still cars. They don't have hands and crap, right? And
Right.
yet, they live in cities. They have roads and buildings and infrastructure.
Homes and food and restaurants and
That means people built that.
yeah.
But yet
all
you don't see people in the movie.
Humanity.
Yes.
No, it gets better. The rabbit hole goes deeper.
Right. So like you see the artifice of humanity in the movie, but you don't see humanity.
Right.
Unlike Toy Story, where you do see the humans, like Andy or whatever, he runs around, like they interact with the humans, like it's a thing. So in cars, like it is a dark post-apocalyptic future. All of the humans have been rounded up and put into labor camps, a la the X-Men Days of Future, or whatever the last one was, Days of Future Past, or like the Terminator Salvation movie.
Well,
And
no, Wall-E. They're on a spaceship.
Sure. Well, some got away, clearly. Like, we
Right.
clearly rocketed away at some point. Yes.
Right. That's
So-
what plays into the overarching story is the humanity is left on a
Yes.
spaceship. Now Wall-E's taking care of a post-apocalyptic world.
Right.
But this is Wall-E's taking place, millennia after the Cars storyline because now the Cars are, sentient technology is taking over the planet.
Well, there's clearly still some humans left.
Yes. And we know this because you see farm implements. So you see tractors. And tractors are just dumb. They're like stupid cows, and they like tip them and stuff in the movie, right?
Right.
Okay, that means two things. One, they keep, like,
Producing food.
the cars purposefully make stupid other cars to do their menial labor, right? There's no
Right.
reason why those tractors have to be dumb. Like everybody else who performs jobs in society, like a farmer is a farmer, right?
Right.
The mechanic isn't dumb, but they purposely keep a cast of even their own cars stupid just to use them for forced labor. But why are they growing food? The cows are in the field growing food, like wheat, stuff that doesn't make gasoline.
Well, yeah, wheat and corn, all that turns into ethanol.
I don't think those cars are running. Like, you see them growing different crops. I'm going to assume not every crop ever gets turned into oil or food or gas.
Every crop that has any kind of glucose, sucrose, or fructose can be turned into ethanol.
Oh, there you go.
And
But that
race cars run on ethanol.
but that was a storyline of Cars 2. They were trying to convert over to ethanol or to like a bio-safe one,
Biofuel, right.
but they didn't want to do that.
Right, they were clearly still using real fuel at this point. So someone's getting oil and gasoline somewhere.
Yeah, they're still using hydrocarbons.
Yeah, you actually see them go to a gas station or whatever in the first movie, I think. So, anyway, so who's the food for? The
Right.
food is for the human slaves, right? That are keeping this infrastructure together. When they need hands, they bring in their human slave force.
Yeah, you have opposable digits. Pick that up.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and like once you see all that, it's just obvious. You can't unsee it. That is clearly what is going on in this movie.
Dark
So-
side of Pixar.
Yeah. So Cars makes sense to me because I can make a world, maybe not the world they intended, but I can make a coherent world out of that. Toy Story can't do it. Doesn't make a lick of sense. Not a bit of it. Not any of it at all. Are those toys immortal? Can they reproduce? Or do all the toys have the same personality? Do they have a soul? Like there's so many unanswered questions. And I'm sure some of these get flippantly tackled in the story itself. I don't like that.
Right, it's just a cast-off side note to the story. Oh yeah, they have some kind of, sentience.
Yes. Like, why when Buzz Lightyear becomes Spanish in the third movie, because his language setting gets flipped or whatever nonsense, does he immediately become a...
Flamenco dancer and all this other stuff.
Yes, why does he immediately become a racial stereotype?
Yes, I was going to say a cultural stereotype for some Spanish bullfighter.
Yeah, and he's instantly, like, hitting on women and such, even though before, that was not part of his personality. And moreover, what that means, so that's, like, so hyper important, because that means he has a switch on his back that changes him completely.
Yes, he's a completely different personality, has some kind of bipolar disorder that's ingrained into his programming.
Right. He
Who
is
programs them?
right. Who
Right.
like yes. It just none of that makes sense. None of any of Toy Story makes sense, and it drives me bonkers. So there you go.
Bonkerness accepted.
All right. Yes. Excellent.
I follow along your logic.
If it's solid, I get a pass.
Yes. Now, I will say that torturous hours of experiencing the same stories over and over and over again, you just start to not care.
Well, that's fair. I can see that.
I do enjoy the overarching conspiracy of the whole thing.
Sure, that all these Pixar movies are happening in the same universe, as it were.
Well, even your own theories and
Yes.
yes, the whole conspiratorial nature of this, your interpretation in general is great.
Yeah, I think Cracked had one where they took it out to like the toys are the first sentients, and then they evolve into the cars. That's post-apocalyptic and take over. So I'm not sure if they made the full connection like I did. And then they go into obviously Wall-E is later down the road once that goes wrong, right?
Right.
Humans escape. I also saw a nice explanation where they tied that all in with Joss Whedon as well, because they do, and all the Joss Whedon properties happen in the same world.
Right. Whedon wrote the original Toy Story script.
Right.
They didn't know that.
There's also, I'm going to have to find that link or webpage or something, where they tie in Brave as some kind of magical portal mysticism that happens that actually screws the future world over. And
oh, nice.
Well, yeah, and the Monsters Incorporated gets pulled into it as well, and the witch from Brave was actually the little girl from Monsters Incorporated. And parallel dimensions being split and joined together, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's actually a really great overarching conspiracy for all the Pixar movies.
So they went all the way.
All the way. Every single Pixar movie is all the same universe, and they're just split up along different points in the timeline of the universe, including ants.
Including ants.
Ants. All of it.
Or A Bug's Life, wasn't that the Pixar
Yeah,
one?
Bug's Life, yeah. Ants
Okay,
is
yeah.
the other.
Yeah, Ants was the
knockoff.
other one, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You caught the connection, though, so that's the important part.
Yes. I understood what you were saying. Oh, that's awesome. Freaking Bug's Life.
Yeah, every single Pixar movie is in the same universe. It's in the same storyline. It's just different points in a grand overarching story.
I like it. All right, gentlemen. I know we've only gone on for, maybe 4 hours this time. Certainly not the 8-hour Paintisode that I'm so fond of. But this is during the week, and I do have to, sadly, work very early tomorrow morning. But
I have heathens I need to attend a certain place of education.
Yes.
So yes, I am in a similar boat.
There you go.
I would do these 2 figurines and do some communication with some other gentlemen while I was doing such. And I'm still working
on attaching those 2 figurines.
No, I have one completed.
All right.
I have
That's
one
something.
finished. This one right here. I am still scraping mold lines and sprue bits off of the second.
Wow.
Well, best of luck. For everybody out there watching, I hope you enjoyed this random ramblings and nothing, and I hope that you enjoyed the Mordheim discussion at the top. Like I said, we'll probably have something soon-ish, pretty soon. I'm not going to commit to anything because that's the kind of person I am. But other than that, appreciate it, everybody. And I'll probably do another Paintisode. Well, since the wife's out of town this week, there'll probably be more of these happening. So there you go. Look forward to that. More painting content. But everybody, thank you for watching. Tom, John, and Merrick, thank you for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Have a nice night.
Have a good one, everybody.